What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 204 of the Taste Cast, our weekly podcast where we talk about all things gaming. My name's Seth, and joining me today, of course, is Chevy. Chevy, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing good. And I'm going to ask you something to kind of change things up a bit. In these beginnings, I always ask you how you're doing, and you say you're tired, and you've been working out, same, all that stuff. But you got a Japan trip coming up. I'm not going to put details out there for that, because obviously that's a personal thing. But we've both been doing Duolingo in our own respective languages.
Oh, boy.
So I'm curious, wie ist deine Japanisch, or how's your Japanese coming?
Pretty bad, to be honest, because I don't put a whole lot of time in. I do like a quick lesson maybe every day.
I think you've done like 200 something?
Yeah, though I've heard like over and over again that Duolingo is just not that great for Japanese. But you know, I know a couple of things here or there. I'm not conversational at all, though. So
Sure.
I'll be definitely speaking like a baby or babu when I'm there. So
At the very least, you can kind of recognize words. Sentence structure is like the hardest thing about learning other languages, but as if I've learned a bunch of them, but I've dabbled in a lot of them. And I always notice that that's the hardest thing about translating English sentence structure to really any other language is always really weird. I watched a video recently specifically about Japanese and basically how they speak like Yoda in their structure.
yeah.
But then they cut out certain words too. Russian's kind of like that too. They have like a lot of we have a lot of little words in between words.
Definitely.
That in Russian they're like, we don't need those, and it's just gone.
I've watched Japanese people learning English, and they always forget things like the word "the," for example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting that like they just skip stuff like that. And then like I've been learning German for a while now, and every once in a while I'm like, you're saying way more than I feel like you should be saying to say the sentence.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, you said 3 words and you just said a whole sentence. Like, how's that work? So that has been a hurdle. Luckily, German is in a lot of ways similar to English, but also it's either like just like English or it's nothing like it. But it's more similar to them like French or Russian or whatever. But yeah, Japanese is notorious for just being able to say like a couple words, and it's a replacement for how we would say like a full sentence.
yeah. Well, and like with any language, it's just gonna be words that don't have direct translation, so we have to kind of fudge it. But yeah, I don't know. I got a couple like small things, and I probably wouldn't be able to tell you that that's your phone, but I could say like "sore wa smaho desu," which would be that is a cell phone if I'm not mistaken. So
I don't know how to say cell phone in German. I know how to say a lot of things, but not phone. It's interesting. I wonder why I haven't learned that yet.
yeah, they taught me smartphone pretty early on, and then a lot of like restaurant stuff though. They didn't give context because like you can call cooked rice specifically gohan, but gohan can also just kind of mean cooked food. So
Das Essen.
that's interesting.
Wo ist das Speisekarte?
The only German I know is stuff that's incorporated into English, like
Yeah.
Gesundheit, so which I'm butchering. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of words that we share, but I
yeah.
forgot what it was recently. There was a word, and it was just the exact same as English. I'm like, well, that fucking... And I didn't remember it, but I'm like, well, that's easy to remember when I do end up remembering. I think it was couch. I think couch is just couch. I'm not sure, though. But they have all sorts of weird shit. Like, I think Badezimmer is bathroom. Not close at all.
Yeah, well, and you know, with the world being so connected, there's a lot of loan words in multiple languages at this point. So
Yeah, just a lot of English came from... It's Germanic.
right.
But English is also like a mix of like fucking everything. So there's a lot of Latin in it as well. So,
yeah,
especially like all military terms all come from France that we use. So, but yeah, I thought I'd check in on that. Maybe people who watch us regularly would be curious about how your journey in learning Japanese is going, or even learning at all that you are learning that. I've been curious about doing that myself as somebody who's been super into Japanese stuff since I was a child, same as you. So I get it. There's a lot of words I've picked up over time just watching anime, but I couldn't speak to anybody in Japanese at all because I don't know sentences basically, but I know specific words.
I honestly assume I'm going to learn more once I'm there than I will from the app, just because
Sure.
I've just constantly heard that the best way to learn is just be in it.
Immersion,
So,
yeah. A thing that people also say is to watch stuff from that country. Luckily, anime is not something you got to go out far out of your way to find.
So I don't need to be talking like that to people because it's very rude.
Sure, but you'll still pick up things from that.
Right.
But like, you know, what German television am I going to watch? Like, I don't even watch TV here, so
Yeah,
it's a little different for me. There's no German anime that I could be watching. So
no, and I don't know what kind of programming they even do. So
I have no idea.
yeah, I know there's a bunch of like apps and stuff like and websites and stuff that you can go to and like try to find people who are also interested. Like they're interested in learning English. They're from the country you're trying to learn a language from. You can kind of like, you know, chit chat with them and stuff like that. But I'm not a super social dude, so it's kind of hard.
Anyone I know who's used an app like that just used it to hit on people in other countries. Like it's a dating app.
Yeah, I'm not
but
really interested in that regard.
Sure.
So
I just feel like it's I guess you could learn that way, but
yeah,
not really the intent. So but yeah, cool. Hopefully you continue your journey. You've been doing it for over 200 days. I'm on my way to 300 days in Das Deutsch. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that gets you. And yeah, hopefully when you go to Japan, you can test that out and see what you pick up. Because I constantly, when I'm on the internet, I'll see something in German. I'll go into the comment section. And I'm just like going through. I pick up like most of the stuff they're saying, but there'll be some long, crazy word that's got, you know, G, Z, K, T in it or something crazy. I'm just like, I have no idea what the fuck this is.
What I really need to do is like the app like tried to teach me hiragana, and I have not retained any of it. So I just need to like actually like sit down and like practice like the written, because if I can get to a point where I can read it, it'd probably make it a lot easier too, because that's the hard part. I follow a lot of Japanese stuff on like Twitter and TikTok, for example, but I can't read it, so I have to use the translate button constantly.
Yeah. That's the rough thing too, is their alphabet is like alien compared to ours, whereas like
it looks like symbols.
Whereas like, you know, German has like a lot of the European symbols
Romanji
that you would expect, but otherwise, you know, it's still the same letters. So except for like two that are different, but yeah, than that, it's pretty easy to, you know, look at it and get a basic idea. But
it's funny how many languages actually do use the I guess the Roman characters. I don't know if that's correct or not, but because yeah, even like, you know, Spanish is used. It's just the different, you get like accents over.
They get the C's with the things on them. Same thing with Latin in general, Latin languages, and then
there's a lot of Asian languages use like, you know, more symbol styles, like, you know, Korean, you know, Chinese and Japanese as examples.
Well, and Cyrillic too, like Eastern European stuff, Russian. It all is different too, but luckily their alphabet's a lot smaller than ours, so it's easy to memorize, as I did once. So
yeah,
but yeah, good stuff. Let's talk about video games.
Okay.
In case people are wanting to, you know, listen to us talk about video games, that's what the show's for. So yeah, before we jump into what we've been playing, let's jump into game releases because it's the first Tastecast of the month, and that's what we do around here. So this is via thegamer.com. So if there's any errors on this, it's not my fault. It's their fault. It's always their fault. It's never my fault. So
bastards.
Let's go through this, see what's coming out, what has come out, and what we're excited for. This is a smaller month in terms of releases, and I'm very happy about that, honestly. Gives me time to put time into the other things. So April 3rd, we got Deceit 2 on PS5, Xbox Series. April 10th, that's a huge jump. House Flipper 2 on PS5, Xbox Series. Then Grounded comes out on the 16th for PS4, PS5, and Switch. Then also on the 16th, we got Planet of Lana, PS4, PS5, Switch. Then also on the 16th, Harold Halibut on Xbox Series. Then on the 18th, we get Scare Ritual. I think it's a horror game that's on Steam. Maybe it's full release. I'm not sure. PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Then on the 18th as well, we got No Rest for the Wicked early access on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. April 23rd, we get Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes for PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. It's weird to see Xbox One on any list. April 23rd, we got Tales of Kenzera Zhao on PS5. Exclusive. April 23rd. I don't know what the hell that is, though.
True.
Actually, maybe. No, I don't. April 23rd as well, we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants on PS4,
right
PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Everything. On the 25th, we got Saga Emerald Beyond, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Then on the 25th as well, we got another Crab's Treasure on Switch. Mm-hmm. Then on April 26th, we got Sandland coming out on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. Also, stay tuned over on Tasty Flicks, link down below. We will be watching the series, the anime, soon and reviewing it. So if you're watching that or interested in that, check that out. April 26th as well, we got Stellar Blade coming out on PS5. Then on the 26th, we got Manor Lords Early Access on PC. Then on the 30th, we got Braid Anniversary Edition on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. And last but not least, the big one, April 30th, Sea of Thieves is coming out on PlayStation 5 with apparently exclusive content made for PlayStation, which people were upset about. But I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool that you're bringing it over and you're like welcoming the new people with cool content. But whatever.
Yeah, but is it crossplay?
I don't know. I hope so. That'd be such a mistake if they didn't do crossplay.
It's just weird if it had crossplay then also had exclusive content. That'd be
but if it was like PlayStation themed, it'd be weird if Xbox people were like downloading that.
That's true.
I don't even know why they would want it. Like
they don't want to be blue.
If you're somebody who identifies as like a PlayStation person or an Xbox person, I don't know why you would want the other person's content.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine actually using it anyways if it was themed. Like
I would not.
Yeah,
I've played like I forgot what game I was playing. I think it was a free to play game way back in the day. But there was like some PlayStation exclusive content. It was like a shirt that said PlayStation on it, but it was like bright blue, and I was like, I'm not gonna dress my character like this in game. But
I think the only PlayStation exclusive thing I ever used was in Warframe. They had like a blue scarf or something like that, and I was like, this is kind of cool.
That was way back in the day. I remember that. What are you looking forward to? Harold Halibut. What the fuck that is?
Well, it's a fish.
True.
I have the demo downloaded for Saga. I haven't played it yet.
What is it?
It's
by the spelling I know what it is. Okay. That's weird.
And then I plan on picking up Stellar Blade. The more I hear that guy talk about gaming in general, the more I want to support him anyway. So
what guy?
The director of the game.
Okay.
He's like a big advocate of saying he's been saying like single player games are important to gaming and they plan on making even more of them, et cetera.
Good.
So, which is really funny because they come from gotcha game roots, which is definitely not single player.
I love seeing any dev start from Helldivers and then make Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know they made mobile games and they seem like high quality mobile games, wherever the hell that means. They don't look cheap. But from them to go to 2D,
they make millions, I would hope not.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that money get reinvested into a bigger project. I like the growth. It's cool.
Yeah. Though they were getting funding all over the place for Stellar Blade, but which is great for them, obviously.
I'm sure Sony's stoked to have an exclusive that's getting a lot of talk. So
and I'm sure what's their publisher name called? Level Infinite or whatever. That giant Chinese investor.
Tencent or
it's Tencent.
NetEase.
It's Tencent. Tencent has a publisher brand called like Level Infinite that they use.
Oh, they're the same?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So they invest heavily into oh god, I forgot the company's name now. Whatever. The people make Nikkei and Stellar Blade. But anyways, I'm looking forward to that. I did play the demo to that. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
I was going to ask. Okay.
And
I should put that on my thing.
I kind of have a vague interest in Sandland. I have the demo. I have not played it. No. I guess I have about 2 weeks to figure that out.
I'll put that on my... I won't save that for what we've been playing. I played the demo of it. It actually was pretty fun. My only worry is it's a big open desert that you're running around in. Combat's pretty decent. Enemies and character design's pretty cool, but I am curious about longevity in that game because you are just kind of running around in this like barren desert, which is obviously the setting, and just finding enemies to fight. But there's something about it that was kind of interesting. So I'll be curious to see what reviews say about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and other than that, I'm excited for people who were looking forward to playing Sea of Thieves that didn't have an Xbox or a PC. It's a fun enough game.
I'm stoked about that because it's like the perfect game. If there's a game Xbox should be bringing to everything that they can, it's that game. Also, we're talking about that. Grounded is also coming to PS5. So these kind of like multiplayer games don't need to be your like console exclusive type games. And I would even encourage, if Sony ever makes a fucking invest in multiplayer games, Helldivers, sure. And I unbiasedly, when that game came out, I was telling people on Xbox, I'm like, this would be a great game to be cross-platform.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is a game that everyone is stoked about, and I think everybody would really enjoy this game.
It's also still selling copies, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's doing very well.
And then just as a note, when did we start announcing release dates for early access titles? Like that seems so goofy to me. That's you're saying, hey, it's not finished, but it's coming out this day.
They what's weird too, because when it comes out in 1.0, they'll
announce it again.
Yeah, it's weird. But take that up with thegamer.com, I guess. They had a meeting and they're like, let's do both. So especially for these games, like I don't know what the hell this is. It sounds kind of familiar though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's good to know that the early access version is coming out. It just seems really weird. It's like, where's all the demos and beta tests on this list as well? Because it's basically the same thing.
That's fair.
So.
I religiously on Steam am always going into the new and noteworthy or whatever the hell it's called.
I've watched you do it. Yeah.
I do it all the time. So that's a lot of times when I'll catch a game before it like hits its wave. Like when I was playing Phasmophobia, I played that a couple weeks before streamers got their hands on it, and then Lethal Company.
Oh yeah,
those kind of games. Like I'm always on the lookout for like something that's a cool new idea. So when they do advertise this, it's probably good for a lot of people. For me though,
for sure.
I'm ahead on that.
Yeah, it was a weird choice. I'm not like against it. I just think it's weird. So
yeah,
but yeah. Anyways, it's a pretty easy month. I would say what you said. And say that I'm glad because it'll make my month easier, but it probably won't. So.
Yeah, we got a big banger game of the month we have to play this month, which is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So we'll be playing that throughout the month, and at the end of the month, talking about it, hopefully beating it and being able to review it fully. But in a month like this, where there's only a couple games I'm really looking forward to, I can just kind of devote time to it, which is nice. So yeah, it's kind of landed on the perfect month for that. Yep. So, as for me, I'm stoked about Grounded and Sea of Thieves coming to PS5. I will not be playing them there. I still haven't even picked up Grounded. I played it on Game Pass in early access and thought it needed work. I'm sure it's come a long way since then. And then Sea of Thieves is cool. It's a game that I would be playing, but I would need to know people playing it regularly for me to play. It's not a game I like to play solo. I know you can do it. It's not fun for me. Yeah. House Flipper is a game I have on my wish list on Steam, so I'm not going to be picking it up on console, but it's reminded me I would like to pick that up at some point. Every time I watch a video on it, I'm like, it looks kind of like a nice chill game to play.
Yeah, I've watched it too. It looks fun.
Yeah. If it had a multiplayer, it'd be cool, because oddly enough, Pressure Wash Simulator, Power Wash, whatever the hell, is kind of a Zen game already, but playing with people, it feels a little more streamlined. When you're playing by yourself, you're like looking for every nook and cranny, but it's kind of nice having multiple brains. Like, okay, where's the last piece at? You get better coverage that way. It's also a good game to just like chill and talk and stuff like that. So, but anyway, yeah, that reminded me that I should play that. So yeah, this month, what am I picking up? Probably Stellar Blade. I slowly have become more and more interested in it, and I played the demo. We'll talk about that soon. I think it sold me, so I'll probably pick it up. And then Sandland, I'm on the fence about. I really want to see what people say about it. If people say there's like longevity to it, if there's a reason you're going to want to play that for multiple hours. Because from what I played, there was some charm, but I don't know how much time I want to invest in that desert, just punching stuff. Deserts, notoriously for most people are not the most exciting environments. And although we have seen some really big jumps in how you can design deserts in modern gaming, making it much better than it used to be, Sandland is not doing that so far from what I've played. So it reminds me of old school deserts in games. And from what I know, and by the title, Sandland, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of sand, and I don't know if that's appealing. So, but if there's like a lot of progression or a fun story or whatever, we'll see. We'll find out. I'm really curious about everything Sandland, honestly, because between Akira Toriyama passing away, rest in peace to the legend, and then Sandland dropping in both anime and video game like right after that, it is definitely on my mind in terms of like what is that? Is it good? Is it bad? We'll find out. So, but yeah, those two games I think is about it, which is very nice. But I'm sure some indie games on Steam will catch my eye at some point too. So
usually do.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Let us know in the comments what games have you picked up already this month. What games do you plan on picking up this month? Is there any games that were not on this list that you want to mention are coming out this month? I feel like something is coming out this month that I can't remember. But yeah, let us know everything you're thinking about in the comments below when it comes to game releases. All right, let's jump into what we've been playing. We're talking about the games we've been playing recently. And how about you start us off, Chevy?
Okay, this is probably going to be very easy.
Okay.
I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Game of the month.
Can't say too much about it because obviously we have to talk about it at the end of the month.
Where are you at?
But I am, I believe, halfway through Chapter 7.
Okay.
As spoiler-free as I can be, I just did the minecart.
Okay.
So I'll just say that.
That means nothing to me, so.
And it's not even a big thing, so that's why it's just something that's an easy checkpoint. If anyone's gone there, they know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I mean, I'm having fun with it so far, but for a full opinion on it, make sure to come back at the end of the month. So,
and that definitely might not mean much saying you're having fun with it, because both of our opinions on the remake is not as straightforward as you would assume. So, and I already kind of feel like that with this game, although I do have some pretty strong opinions on this game versus remake that I'll want to express at the end of the month when we talk about it. But if you guys are curious, I've also been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm luckily in the mindset where I want to be playing it. I'm not playing it because I have to for the channel. I actually want to play it. So I've probably put 10 or 11 hours into it recently. So a good little chunk. I'm in chapter 4. I would be further, but there's so much shit to do on the map that I had to
even chapter, it seems like.
I had to force myself to go, I'll come back to this, I'm sure. So I'll just do this. I'm not going to complete everything right now. I'll come back to it.
I sure as fuck did.
Yeah, well, that was the trap. I started doing everything, and then I was like, I need the story to get me motivated, though. I can't just do the activities just to say I did them. I want to experience them, but I also want the story of these characters to at least roll forward a little bit. Yeah. So for my own motivation, I had to keep playing. But I'm in chapter 4. I encountered Yuffie. I'll put it that way. And that's where I'm at. So I won't tell you what I think of the game, though. But there's way more stuff in this game than the last game. This feels closer to a JRPG that you would expect in terms of like content and less of like the linear JRPG that Remake was in terms of its storytelling. But that's about as far as I'll go with that. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, I played all of the Plus games. I can't remember any of the names off the top of my head. So
Immortals of Avium,
yep.
Minecraft Legends, Skull the Hero Slayer.
I've played Skull the least out of the 3. I played a lot of Minecraft, so I'll definitely be able to talk about that one. And I'm in chapter 5 on Immortals.
Oh shit!
So
I actually played that a little bit.
I have some time in those two games. I want to try to play Immortals a little bit more because it's very story heavy. So I would like to have a little more of an opinion.
It's super story heavy. I played
Yeah.
the demo on Steam when I was thinking about picking it up during a sale. It was like $30, like a month or two after it came out. And I was like, man, for $30, maybe worth checking out. But as soon as you start that game, it's just like story heavy.
Yeah.
Fully voice acted, mocapped, all these scenes, all these characters and stuff. And I was like, man, they put some work into this game. So yeah, I'm definitely I'll be interested to see what you think of the game, but also I need to play it more. But
Yeah. I definitely have thoughts, and because I went into it pretty blind, to be honest. So
yeah.
but yeah, I want to play it a little more so I can have a little more solid opinion. Because I feel like the story just finally let me free to like play the game. So,
Dude, yeah, the beginning is like such a long sequence.
but yeah, I played all three of those. So I'm good for the end of the month in that regard. I might need a refresher at the end of the month on specifically Skull, right?
Yeah. That's the worst thing when I jump. Like, I hate waiting till the last minute to play the Plus games because it's like I don't know if I can invest the right amount of time I need to really have a proper opinion. But I typically do. It just feels a little more stressful in that regard. But also, if I play them earlier in the month and then I forget about them, I have to revisit them because I'll forget major points that I want to talk about. But I do prefer doing that over just playing at the end of the month and seeing, if I can get something out of it. But
yeah, no, I understand that. I have memory of goldfish a lot of times, so yeah, I'm gonna try my best to keep them in my mind though, especially because two of them I actually put some hours into at this point. So, yeah, so going past those, outside of like my mobile games that I play, I played the Stellar Blade demo, which I can talk about. So the first thing I'll say is the game's gorgeous. Like the art direction is very good, to be kind of expected with a lot of East Asian games, especially when they are heavily focused on graphics. Pretty common, but I enjoy it in that regard. The story is and the thematics of it are familiar to a lot of things, but still original in its own right, which I appreciate because it definitely comes off very near Automata like, but it is heavily inspired by that. But it also, there's a lot of it that I definitely see, like they made Nikkei for sure, because like the robotic people and this whole like end of the world stuff, like that's all in that game as well, which also feels very near-esque as well. So I feel like they definitely like that theme in their games. The character so far, I barely had a chance to spend any time with her. She's okay. Hopefully she develops in the actual game better.
Eve,
yeah. Her and Taki are the only names I can really remember.
Tachi.
Is it Tachi?
I think it is.
It's spelled Tachi, but I thought she called her Taki. It doesn't matter.
Maybe.
They had more like character and personality than Eve did. And they were barely in the demo. Yeah. I'm definitely curious because I want to, obviously I'm going to end up picking it up because I would like to anyways, but also like I said earlier, I kind of want to support the team anyways because they've been very vocal about a lot of things that I agree with. So the combat is okay. It feels a little stiff.
Definitely feels stiff.
Yeah, which I can get over. It's not a huge deal. I just you definitely notice it when you're playing, and specifically with the dodge mechanic, it's very, very like spot on. It might as well be parry. Versus like you kind of get used to a lot of games where you can like dodge a little early and still like have that dodge window. This game's basically like right on the money. It feels like.
Yeah, once you unlock perfect dodge, you can time it when they attack. You're basically parrying.
Yeah.
But with the dodge, the biggest problem I have with it is the dodge distance is almost comical. So I'm hoping later in the game there's going to be like an upgrade to that, or a double dash or something like that. I don't know. But as of like the demo, I thought it was kind of crazy how like small that like I can't think of another game that I've played that has that small of a dodge.
Well, especially because like in the depictions of the like in the cutscenes and stuff like that, like their movement isn't that small. Like they're flipping all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you get control and you can't move like that.
Mhm.
So it's a little weird. I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. Like it is something I think they could improve on if they have not already. The game's not out. I can't really comment on that like solidly. But from what I had access to, it was kind of meh. The block and parry is much better, and feels fine, to be honest, in that regard. Combat's also slower paced than I expected for a game like
Yep.
this, which I don't hate. It's just surprising. I
Yeah,
expect
people
it to be faster.
keep saying Bayonetta, but like Bayonetta is super hyperkinetic in the way that that game plays. So maybe they're talking about just character models. But what I felt when I played the game felt like a mix between Nier and Dark Souls, because it has a lock on and the movement feels influenced by Dark Souls. It isn't Dark Souls, but
Definitely
it feels influenced by it. And then the combat feels closer to Nier, just not as fast paced yet.
It also has the, at this point, very borrowed, quote unquote campfire system where mobs respawn when you rest. So,
Yep.
so I definitely think it's drawing from it a little bit.
It definitely is. And I actually like seeing people be inspired by Dark Souls without just making a Souls-like.
Oh, yeah,
because I
definitely.
am feeling fatigued on people just copying the Souls-like formula. I have heard Lies of P is like fucking amazing. I still need to go back and play that. But everything else I play that's like just kind of borrowing directly from that game, I'll play them. They're fine, but I am definitely fatigued by that. So when I was playing this and I was locking on, there's campfire systems and stuff. I was like, this better not be like a Souls-like. I didn't think it would be like that, but it's not. It doesn't feel like that. It feels closer to Nier, or just like an action game, which I miss. Just a straight up third person action game. It's not Dark Souls.
I feel like it feels inspired for sure, but I don't feel like it's copying either very well. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like, you can tell there's some Nier influence, but it doesn't feel like Nier. You can tell there's some Dark Souls influence, but it doesn't feel like Dark Souls. So.
Well, I mean, the dodge doesn't borrow from either of those games.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
just
definitely not.
It's just not a good dodge, but it's not trying to be those games.
Yeah. Yeah, enemy design is cool. I like that they're creepy. I wasn't really expecting that when the game first got announced, but now that I've seen a lot more of the monster design stuff like that, they're definitely going for like a real creepy vibe, which is different from Nikkei. Nikkei, they're fighting a bunch of robots basically. So in this, they're like these grotesque, monsters basically, and I dig it. Yeah, I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say. I know the music is composed by Okabe, if I'm not mistaken, who's the same guy who did the music in Nier. So I'm sure the soundtrack is probably going to be phenomenal.
It was pretty good in the demo.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that because I am definitely the type to listen to video game and like anime music and stuff like that. So more stuff for my playlist is always a plus.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, it's fun. I'm like I said, I'm going to pick it up already. Difficulty will depend on how much I'm enjoying the game. If I just want to get through the story, I probably knock it down to easy, to be honest. But if I'm enjoying the combat enough, I'll keep it on normal. So
Yeah.
that's it. So I've been playing.
You can play Dragon's Dogma 2?
No, not last week. I haven't.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, I'll get your thoughts on that game because I figured we could talk about it since we haven't talked about it officially on the show.
We can do that when you finish.
When
the
I
list.
get there. Yeah. Okay. So I've also played Immortals of Avium. I can't talk about it. I've also played Minecraft Legends, but I barely played it because I saw that co-op for the campaign, so I wanted to try that out. Skull the Hero Slayer I've also played, so I have played all the games. I have not played enough of any of the three, though, to be ready for the end of the month yet, but I have basically gotten past tutorials on all of them. Final Fantasy Rebirth, I already talked about that. I am playing it. I am wanting to play it, which is good. And I have already a lot of things to say about it. Let's see. Stellar Blade. I also played it. I thought the music was good. I thought the graphics were good. The visual style is pretty good. Some of it looks kind of generic. Some of it looks pretty good. In the outfit designs, I think are kind of like okay. But the monster design, I was surprised by. Wasn't expecting the enemies to look like that.
It's gonna be like 30 some outfits when the game comes out, so I'm sure there'll be at least
there'll
one
be something.
Like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've already seen, I think, a couple. I don't know that looked better. I still like the first outfit, and the not outfit is ridiculous
naked
looking.
one.
Yeah. But good on them for being that bold, I guess.
It's also hard mode apparently, so
Yeah, because you don't have any
shield.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, combat was decent enough. It has a couple shortcomings in my opinion, but I'm hoping that is a false sense of not being powerful yet, and when you level, you'll just forget you ever felt like that. Not typically the route I like to see in a game's progression, but if it does get better as you play, then I won't complain.
I also think it's worth noting too, if this is their first like single player game that they've made, it's better attempt than a lot of people have made.
And AAA game,
yeah,
basically. So I mean, it's in a couple areas it does seem like their first attempt, and especially in map design. But animations, combat, graphics, I mean, this looks as AAA as a lot of games typically do. So they're definitely doing a good job with it. And really, I enjoyed myself, and my curiosity is a huge motivator for me to want to pick it up. I want to see what the full product is going to be like. So, yeah, it shows a lot of promise. So definitely interested in picking that up. I have been playing the finals every single day.
Yes, you have.
Since season 2. I am on the last tier of the season pass, so I'm almost done with it. And then I will be done with my dailies until the next tier of, I forget what they're called, challenges. Every like 5 or 7 days, a new list of challenges comes out where you can unlock a specific piece of outfit or something, which is smart because typically, like in the last season, I beat the season, I was done. I just disappeared. Now I have a reason to keep coming back because there's still things I can unlock that are not part of the season pass. So I think that's a much smarter approach. But yeah, I play the game all the time. I fucking love the game. I am a sweaty, admittedly, now. I feel like I'm way too into the game. I'm at the point where I don't like bitch anybody out, but like I am critiquing people when I play now, and there's few games I do that anymore. And like if I play like Hunt Showdown, I'll have opinions. I'm like, well, that guy shouldn't be doing that. If I play a game like Call of Duty, I don't give a fuck. Everybody's just running around shooting. But in games with like higher strategy elements to them, if I get invested, I become kind of sweaty about it, and I am definitely that guy in the finals now, which. Is fun, I guess, for me because I feel more invested in the game. I'm very opinionated about it, but at the same time, too, I'm like, sweaties are annoying, and I'm now one of them. So, yeah, I saw somebody on X go like, "What's some unwritten rules for the finals?" And I'm like, "Fucking nothing," because nobody does. Everybody just runs around just shooting, and not even doing the objective. But if there were unwritten rules, here's like 8 of them that if you want to be winning regularly, just follow this shit. Because if you just did these small things, you'd be winning all the time. And yeah, so I had a lot of things to say about that. Yeah, finals is awesome. If you're even remotely curious about trying it, it's free to play. I think it's one of the best modern competitive first-person shooters out now, easily. Like I have like zero interest in playing Battlefield or COD right now, and I'm all about the finals. So hoping that I know the season 7 of Battlefield 2042 is their last season, so I'm really curious to see where they go with that. But in my opinion, all the talent from DICE went over to Embark and made the finals. So hopefully they can do something that can bring me back, because it's kind of felt like a drought for a while now in terms of shooters, and the finals really has filled that for me. Because otherwise, if I'm thinking about like what competitive shooter would I play right now, Hunt. I mean, that's about it. Did you see that they added a katana in Hunt? Mm-mm. You like walk around with it in the sheath, and you just go boom and fucking kill people in one hit, and then you resheath it.
What was it called? Iajutsus or whatever.
Yeah. Also, in more footage too, I saw the guy walk around with it like that. But like when I was watching footage of it, I was like, "What game is that?" Because it's like first-person samurai, and I'm like, "What's a first-person samurai game?" And it showed a guy walking around with a sword, and he was like cutting up cowboys. I'm like, "What the fuck game is this?" And I was like, "Wait!" And then it's like more of Hunt. I was like, "Oh, holy shit! I forgot they added a fucking samurai sword." So that's pretty cool. But anyway, I digress. Those are the 2 shooters I'd be playing right now. Otherwise, there's Not really much, but I am glad we're kind of out of the battle royale phase of first-person shooters. It seems like everybody's kind of trying to just make shooters again and not just chase that. So
Well, they definitely all tried to make extraction shooters there for a moment.
Yep. And so far, that hasn't gone anywhere. So I'm glad to see that because I love extraction shooters and I don't want that getting destroyed. But yeah, I saw somebody say that the finals was a battle royale. I'm like, the fuck it is. It's not even remotely close to one.
Let's not start. Look, people already call everything MMO. And
Yep.
MMO, let's not call everything a battle royale.
Well, some people call Hunt Showdown a battle royale, and it's not. But it is closer adjacent to a battle royale. It's an extraction shooter, but it's closer to a battle royale than the finals is. The finals is like fucking Overwatch meets like an arena shooter meets like Battlefield.
I will say it's definitely an objective shooter.
Yeah, I mean it's like just game modes that you would like, that don't feel quite classic, but in the way you play them feels classic and the strategies.
It's also
like
just
that,
straight chaos.
Yep. But I fucking love it. I love how dynamic the game is with the destructibility. It's like every match is just always different. And I think that's a huge reason on why I can keep playing it nonstop is I'm perfecting my strategies. I'm thinking of new ways to play. And even when I do have like a solid plan, it's not going to always work the same because you're playing against different people, different strategies, and the map is constantly changing, which I fucking love. So yeah. And then, yeah, the last game I've played a little bit in the last week, but we need to talk about it because we haven't talked about it since it released, is Dragon's Dogma 2, which came out and has had really interesting reception. It came out, a lot of people complained about it at first because of the microtransactions that didn't matter. That conversation has disappeared, which is good. And now I just see people saying it's awesome. It's a really weird early speed bump in its reception because I've talked about it in a prior episode, but like I was sick when the game came out, and so the Thursday it dropped, I played it, and then I beat it by Saturday. Like I was just cracking out on it, fucking loving it. And I was looking at all the reception, pure bitching about it. I'm like, are you guys playing this game or not? Because like this game's fucking really good.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing so much negativity. I'm like, my brain is melting. I'm really confused on all that.
Well, my TikTok doesn't agree with that because holy crap, I can't get away from clips of that game. So.
No, people love it now,
Yeah.
which is great. And people who were playing it then loved it. But there was like a really early, like first 4 or 5 days of that game's release, strong push to demonize the game because of ignorance of the microtransactions. Because it does have microtransactions. You can buy a la carte things that are in the game.
I like to call it lazy tax.
For a single player game that doesn't affect other people.
Yeah.
But the early thing was like people were saying that these things are limited in the game on purpose, so you have to buy them and you can only buy limited amounts with real money or whatever. So it's like a scam, and it's like, no, you're just not correct. That's all in the game. It's been a while since I played the game now, but the stones that allow you to fast travel, somebody's like, you only get like 7 in the game. And I'm like, bullshit. When I beat the game, I had like 24, and I'd used a couple.
I think I've used 1 total so far. So.
Yeah.
Because the fast travel is plenty fast. So the carts or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Where you take a nap on them. And
No, by the end of the game, I'd used, I think, like 6 or 7 of them. And I had like 20-something when I beat the game. So when people are like, oh, they're limited, I'm like, yeah, they probably are. But like, you're going to go through 20-something of these? And I wasn't even like meticulous in my searching for these things. There's other ways to find them and get them and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, a lot of this was all just ignorance, which was really stupid. And I'm glad it got a lot of pushback because the game's just like undeniably fucking good. As of right now, Dragon's Dogma 2 is my game of the year for 2024. It's easy for me to say that, but I got a couple games I need to beat still, and that might change. But as of right now, I cracked out, got sweaty, no life to the game because I was just enjoying it so much, which is why it's so disappointing and depressing that I can't play the game anymore because I beat the game at level 47. I think my characters now are like 51, 52. The game has a new game plus, and it doesn't properly stack from the original playthrough.
I don't think it does at all.
In like difficulty. Yeah, at all. It doesn't mean proper, like a proper New Game Plus you expect. But yeah, just to clarify, it doesn't change anything. Everything's the same difficulty, everything's the same experience, and so I in like 6 or 7 hours, maybe 10 hours into New Game Plus, and as much as I love the world, love the graphics, love my characters, have stuff I still want to do end game wise, love the combat, all that stuff, it's too easy now. Like it's not fun for me. I could go complete every little thing. I got a lot of stuff done in the first playthrough, but I'd rather spend time playing a game that like I'm getting something out of. And in this, it's like I'm killing everything that was once challenging like way too easy. So if it had any kind of challenge to it all left, I would still be playing it because the game's just like so fun to play. The exploration's fucking awesome. It's got so many nooks and crannies and secret things everywhere, and so much stuff going on in it, and how dynamic it is. I mean, I was just talking about in the finals how dynamic matches in that are. This game's super dynamic. You know, monsters are just flying out of the sky and attacking you. Random shit happens all the time. I think most of my deaths in the game weren't even from monsters. It was from like falling in water and shit, which was always a surprise because I'd like slip and fall and hit the water and I'd just go. Wait, I don't think you die from that. I think it just respawns you, right?
I've not.
You never fell in it? Mm-mm. I fucking fell in a couple times.
I've died once in the game at this point, and it was from Dragon, and it was like I literally slowly watched me and my party die trying to fight this thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god, I'm not going to win this fight. And then it just ended. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sneak past it next time, I guess, because it was like blocking a direction I had to go. So
yeah. I just, I remember falling and dying, but I'm thinking I just fell and died. Because there's a couple times I'm like riding a griffin or I'm riding, whatever the hell, and you fall. And as long as your dudes are like beneath you, they'll catch you. Everyone knows that. But there's one time, I won't say specifically what fight it is because it's at the end, but I was flying around and it was trying to shake me. I was running out of stamina. I didn't have any potions or anything to get my stamina back up. And I'm like looking over and I'm like, fuck, are they gonna catch me? And like I look over and I see little dots running in my direction, but they're nowhere near. I'm like, oh shit. And I fell and I died instantly. I was like, cool. But anyway, game's awesome. I wish the New Game Plus was worth playing, in my opinion, because I could sit there and just like kill things and keep leveling, but then the game's just going to get easier than it already is. And I think the max level is like 999, which I love that you can go that high, but at like level 51, 52, the game's already too easy. So it's like if you got to like fucking 60, I think it'd be like a lot. So hopefully whatever they do with when it comes to like DLC or expansion, hopefully they do it like a full expansion. They'll really ramp things up or add some kind of challenge that you can upgrade in some way.
I'm surprised they don't take a note from Dark Souls and just like every +1 or whatever of New Game Plus just creeps the difficulty up a little bit.
Yeah, I would like that. Because I don't like in games like I was thinking back to Oblivion, but a bunch of games do it where the enemies just are always staying around your level.
Oh, yeah.
Because it takes me out of the game when like the thief on the road who used to wear like fur and he's like, give me your money, and then you fight him and kill him. Later has like glass armor. Yeah, that shit's stupid to me. But I do think having like a New Game Plus where you can decide to ramp up the difficulty again. It's not just always ramping up with you, or like having like some kind of end game, like arena or dungeon or something to run, something to keep playing for outside of just how awesome the combat is would be nice. And the problem with playing just for the combat is like I do too much damage now. So like the fights aren't these big drawn out things, and I never feel like the fear I felt fighting something crazy in the first playthrough. Now I'm just like, okay, this guy's here, and I just like blast him, kill him. It's over. I got pawns that are, like either my level or like 6 levels higher than me. So, Yeah, it's like it's the most disappointing thing about the game is I can't keep playing it. There's nothing for me to play it for anymore. Because otherwise, like I said, it's my game of the year so far. I fucking love the game. I couldn't stop playing it. So,
I do think they added the ability finally to make or start a new save.
Yep, that was fucking insane. And I I felt like a crazy person when I beat the game because I beat it too early. And it's got multiple endings and stuff. And when I got to one of the endings, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I went back to the main menu and it's like load game, and that was it. And I'm like, I can't even delete my save if I wanted to restart. That's crazy. So they fixed that.
Yeah.
It does delete your save if you start a new game, but you have the option now, which is fucking crazy you didn't in the first place.
No, it's super crazy. Like,
yeah, I was like, you're locked in. I had people on my TikTok going like, oh, I don't want to do this. How do I get out of this? And I'm like, you got to commit, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, that is such a weird decision. Now, I mean, obviously it has New Game Plus, so you can like still go back and make those decisions and whatnot. But if I think one criticism was absolutely worth giving them crap for, it's like locking save files the way they did was like such a bizarre design decision. So
yeah, and I still try to keep it vague, but more and more people have experienced it now. But like one of the endings continues the game, and when you do that, you got to do that. And a couple people were like, I just want to play New Game Plus. I don't want to do this. And I'm just like, you can't. You have to continue that before you get New Game Plus. And the game doesn't warn you about that either. So, and without that, being able to restart your save if you wanted to, which you can now, it was kind of crazy that it just locked you into that. So, no regrets though. The true ending is fucking worth it, and I think you're cheapening your experience in the game if you don't do it. But because it is definitely the true ending. But luckily, you can do all the endings in one playthrough though, which is nice because I did that. But yeah, I won't talk about that because people are still playing it. We had somebody in the Discord say that their brother was still in like the fucking first area. They were like in Melv or something for 70 hours.
I just left the first area.
You're talking about oh god, what is it called? It starts with a V. The main castle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was jokingly saying Melv or whatever, which is the first little town. I don't know where his brother's at, but he was saying he's still like 70 hours into the game and in that area. I'm just like, are you like level 60, level 70? Like, what the fuck are you doing out there?
Yeah, I just hit the arid area. So
yeah, Batal. I remember that. So.
I remember everyone being a dick.
What, in the desert area?
Yeah.
That's a cool area though. That's a cool desert. We were talking about deserts earlier. Sandland hopefully has a great desert, but the desert in Dragon's Dogma 2 is done really well. Yeah, full of nooks and crannies.
I gotta get back there because the quest literally sent me there and then sent me back, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll come back later. Bye. So, yeah, I've also I have played it. I didn't play it last week. So the only reason I didn't bring it up. I am enjoying it, though I'm not experiencing a lot of things that I think a lot of people are experiencing. Because surprise, surprise, I don't play games like people do. I played an archer up until recently, and I had no reason to be anywhere near the monster. So I didn't climb on them. I didn't end up in the sky somehow. I just plant my ass on a cliff somewhere where my pawns are down there fighting, and I just rain arrows on it. So
that's the beauty of the game, though, is all the vocations are so different feeling, and they really. I mean, I went through and played every vocation, but like they all, and I think they all play really well too. But they all work for specific kinds of play styles too. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm playing like Magic Archer, I feel like I'm almost playing like Armored Core. Because I'm just running around locking on to shit and just shooting things everywhere and shooting fireballs and all sorts of stuff. But it's weird because you're like, in the back where everybody's up front fighting stuff. Yeah. But then like when I was playing, like the fighter or I forgot the fucking spear dude, the dual sided one, which is really interesting because it's like a hybrid of melee and magic or whatever.
Okay.
They all feel so different. So it does work really well for someone like you who wants to be in the back. You have vocations for that. But I also like there's like hybrids.
Yeah, I maxed out Archer, so I am now currently the first caster. I can't remember his name right now. I think it's just Mage.
Yeah, there's mage and sorcerer.
That's not sorcerer, so yeah, it's Mage. And then my pawn was Mage, is now sorcerer. So now I have 2 magic users in my party, which is a little weird, but I needed to level something else up, and I don't know how you unlock that Archer that you have, but in case it's a dual job thing, or class, I say job because Final Fantasy, apologies. I decided to try magic out, and magic is harder than the bow because there's a lot of delay to what you do versus with the bow you can at least spam arrows while you're thinking, and versus I guess you can spam that one little ball spell that just kind of floats at them, but it does no damage. It's kind of worthless. So but when I do get big spells off, it is very satisfying. Though I still think my favorite thing to do in the game as of yet is with the archer using an oil arrow, and then your pawn, if they're a caster and they've learned it, they just go, oh, it's oiled up. Let me cast fire on it. And then they just catch a blaze, and you're just like, man, that is so satisfying. So
that's one thing that I love about the game is even though every fight's like super chaotic and sometimes the pawns are doing shit, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
They're super adaptive, and they have a lot of things they can do in their scripting. I'm like surprised sometimes on like what they're actually doing in combat. Especially like when I had my pawn, I unlocked a skill that he does a certain move when he's on a monster's face, basically. And so like after I unlocked that and gave it to him, he's always crawling towards their head, trying to get over there. And I was like,
I use your pawn, he crawls all over him.
Yeah. And I was like, it's really cool that once I gave him that ability, he's actually trying to use it. It's not like this rare thing where he's like, oh, sometimes you'll see him do it. They did a really good job on having such dynamic behaviors in that group dynamic like that. It's like every fight is not only just like the monster you're fighting is like fighting something in Monster Hunter, but your NPCs are not acting like dudes just running up and hitting something over and over again. They're doing like kind of complex things that you wouldn't really expect from a game like this, especially with 3 other dudes running with you. Like you just see some really crazy shit.
Yeah, the pawn system is really cool.
Yeah.
I honestly, I wish it was just bigger. But I mean, they're doing more than a lot of games do in that regard. Especially, I complain all the time that games don't do enough bot stuff, and this game's just like, you can do bots. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that drives me nuts, and obviously it's the way I made her, but my pawn is such a kiss ass. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm like, someone will say something, and she's just like, well, master is like basically perfect, and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, okay, stop. Like,
yeah, it's funny. My first playthrough, Corvusart was like all about me. He's like the master, blah blah blah, like always talking me up, or whatever, like similar to that, but not as kiss assy, but definitely like the dude was like a true believer for sure. And then the second time around, I changed his personality to see how it would be. So it's the same dude, but just different personality, different voice, and he's way different. It almost feels weird because I played through this whole playthrough with Corvusart being this character that I got used to when he talked, and then this time around, I'm like, every time he talks, I'm like, who the fuck are you? And why are you talking to me like
your
that?
guy kind of comes off like he's like borderline royalty when he talks. He's like very like proper and like
the new version or the original version?
The new one. Where
Okay.
The fighter or whatever he is now.
Yeah.
Every time he talks, I'm like, are you like royal guard or something? Like.
Yeah, so. I got into an awkward situation where I had beaten the game and I invested in certain equipment that you get towards the end of the game, but I wanted to play other vocations as well. So I was like, this is like the best armor and weapons I have, though, like damage wise and armor wise and shit. Like I don't want it to go to waste. So I just threw it on him. I was like, I'll just switch you to fighter. You can use this fucking gear.
I mean, it's good use for it.
Yeah.
I put my archer stuff in the storage for now, just in case. Though I'm sure by the time I'll end up finding better stuff. But
yeah, I was just trying to keep something around for him. I mean, luckily, anytime you unlock a vocation, you get their starting gear basically. But yeah, even if I find stuff for them, if it's better, I'll just keep it around and get rid of the older stuff, just so when I do switch someone over, myself or my pawn, I'll have something for them. So plus there's some pretty unique weapons and stuff out there, so it's good to keep things around.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the game because I've done pretty much what anyone else has done in the game, which has been, the starting area. But it's fun for sure. I can't make the claim that's my game of the year yet because I haven't beaten it, obviously. But it is definitely going to be a hard to beat title, I think, in a lot of ways.
I think at the very least, I'm being dramatic about it because so far it's the only game this year that I've just like cracked out on like this, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. If it had any weakness, the story's like okay, but I'm not playing the game for the story. But everything else like is just fucking awesome. It lived up to my expectations. The only thing I have a complaint about is like New Game Plus really, and the original game I think did the exact same thing. So. Yeah. But there's other games coming out this year. I could beat Rebirth or beat Infinite Wealth, and I could be like, oh shit, this is actually better. So take it with a grain of salt. But as of right now, it is definitely my game of the year, just because of how awesome the experience was. So yeah, really dig it. Although it feels weird because I beat it so quickly, like I feel like it's a past life. Like I could talk about this game for a while. Like there's so much shit to talk about, but I also feel like it's still there's people like I was saying earlier that like aren't even past like the first area, which is wild to me. Because everybody plays at different paces and that's all good. So I still feel really hesitant to even want to talk about the game because there's so much shit that I wouldn't want to have had spoiled for me. So. I feel bad even bringing up the true ending thing, but when I did it, I was like, I gotta warn people about this because they could like kind of fuck themselves over if they do this a certain way. But I also don't want to tell them anything about it because it's fucking cool. So,
right.
But yeah,
I mean, it's like Elden Ring. That game has tons of endings.
Oh shit! That fucking DLC comes out this year
that I won't get to play.
That could be my game of the year, maybe. One last thing too about playing it early that was kind of interesting is there's everyone knows at this point there's a plague that goes through the pawns or whatever they can contract. By the time I beat it, like 2 or 3 days after that, people start talking about it. They're like, "Oh, rumors are." It was even like IGN. They're like, "Rumors is there's this plague going around spreading." And I'm like,
every time I get a pawn, that's the first thing they say.
Yeah.
Like,
well, in the game they talk about it lore-wise, but like once it started getting confirmed and people saw behaviors changing and stuff in their eyes and stuff like that, there's all these videos breaking down like how to spot it. It's all common shit now, but like I skipped that basically. Mm-hmm. Like I jokingly tell people like fucking the plague rats hadn't spread yet. Like I got through the game before everybody started spreading this shit around, because now I've actually talked to people who have ran into it personally. I never saw it once, so. I kind of dodged that bullet, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I didn't get to experience something that could have been at least interesting. But the ultimate outcome of that, if left unchecked, is pretty interesting. So I'm kind of glad I didn't experience that. But yeah, anything else on Dragon's Tongue 2? Really good game.
I mean, the only thing I would say is if you, for some reason, didn't pick it up because of the reception early on,
yeah,
I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Yeah. So
yeah, also like I get if you have a problem with like the idea of microtransactions in single player games. Sure. That's a personal opinion. I won't tell you you're wrong on that. I will say don't buy them. You don't have to. But if you are under the impression that they are scamming you in a way, they've designed the game for you to buy these microtransactions, you're just wrong. Like it's not even like a subjective thing. Objectively, you're incorrect. So drop that, try the game out, see what you think. Because you can kind of tell that they made these microtransactions because somebody at Capcom was like, we need microtransactions. And they're like, we designed the game for microtransactions. Just sell something. Okay. Just sell them the fucking items in the game.
Or the currency for summoning that's not hard to get.
Dude, I had like thousands and thousands of that.
Yeah.
And also, there's just fucking pawns that are free all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah. I'll be walking down the road, someone will walk up to me like, hey, and it's like fucking 0. And I'm like, okay. And you're like my level or higher. Or they're like 36. It's like not even that expensive. The most I ever spent for one was like 100 something. I've seen ones for like 200 or something.
And your
But
friend ones are always free as well.
yeah, exactly. So it's like this is not an issue.
Yeah.
Like when I beat the game, I think currently right now I have like 4,000 something. Was it RP? I don't remember what the fuck's called. That currency. I have like 4,000
I
of
can't
it.
remember what it's called.
It's not a lot, but I have plenty, and I'm not spending it. So it's
I
like,
think I'm getting close to 2,000.
yeah, sure. So like, so yeah, I fucking that whole thing was just
Yeah.
ridiculous. And if that was a deterrent for you to play the game, just drop that, check it out. Like, don't deny yourself experiencing probably one of the best games of this year.
Also, one of the few times the $70 game is worth $70.
Yeah,
So, because a lot of them aren't these days.
sure.
So, especially with a game, I won't say anything yet, but we're heading into. I've heard some pricing controversy over. So,
Oh, like today?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, do you have anything else to say
I
on
don't.
this? Yeah, play Dragon's Dogma 2 if you haven't. If you're playing it, let us know in the comments what are you thinking. What are you thinking about it? Please no spoilers. I try to avoid it.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't.
Yeah, I think it's such a game with like secrets and cool things to figure out on your own, and it's still so early. Don't talk about them. But let us know what you think of it, and yeah, let us know everything you're thinking about when it comes to what you've been playing. Though, tell us what you've been playing. Recommend something to us if you're playing something you think would be cool for us to play, and yeah. All right, so you had mentioned it a little bit, but we have a bunch of videos we've got to watch that I've been really eager to watch. But the first one we have to watch, not necessarily because I'm eager for it, but it's very topical. I feel like we need to watch it, and that is the Star Wars Outlaws official story trailer, which dropped technically yesterday, but not that long ago, less than 24 hours ago. And yeah, this is the story trailer for the open world Ubisoft made Star Wars game that's coming out. A lot of controversy has dropped ever since this story trailer came out, and some info. I know a leak came out, I think the day before, showing the case of the game. It's an always online game, but it's a single player game, so people are upset about that. And then people are upset about that, and so it's just like a fucking endless cycle. I know the pricing of the game is like pretty crazy too. I think it's a $70 game. I think there's like 100 and like
There are two versions above that.
yeah. Do you remember the pricing for those?
One's like $100, the other's like $120 or something like that.
I think it's higher than that. I think the first one's like 120, one's like 160 or 180.
Something like that, yeah. And the $120 one comes with the season pass, which has day one DLC, so it's artificially locked behind a paywall.
Yeah, and I saw people upset that there's a season pass for a single player game.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that because the content's content. If they're making more stuff later, as long as the game itself, obviously it's not a black and white issue. There's a lot of gray there, but like, if you make a whole ass game and it feels finished, and then they add extra content through a season pass, I don't care about that personally. I know people are gonna have different opinions on that. Whatever, like you're allowed to have those.
I don't like it at all, but I don't dislike it in a controversial way.
Yeah.
I hate the idea of unlocking content in a mechanical way like that. Like, I miss the days where you play a game and you unlock shit as you play it.
I'm in preference of that.
Like in Elden Ring, you're just playing it. All the content's there. You're going to find it organically. And then when the DLC comes out, the next bit of content is going to be in a whole new area. We're going to find it organically, as opposed to you're playing a game and you know that more content's coming, but it's going to be locked behind this mechanical season pass, which takes you out of the game, and it's not my preference. I actually don't like season passes a whole lot in the first place, but for a single player game, it seems kind of lame. But again, it's not a hard stance. If I was enjoying the game enough, I would partake in it probably. It's not like a controversial thing for me. I know a lot of people are like really upset about it, and I get where they're coming from. But then you're also like whatever about it. So
well, I mean, like,
I get
so
both sides.
to a smaller extent, like, so even like when I was 20 years younger, you would buy a game and then 2-3 years later you'd get an expansion, right? And expansions have just mostly disappeared. Some games still do it, but like if DLC is treated like small expansions, I don't see the difference.
DLC and expansion, I don't see the difference. Battle pass or season pass.
Yeah, but a season pass usually implies multiple DLCs, and depending on what kind
Is it just
of
like small chunks of stuff?
well, I don't know about for this game. I'm not
Okay.
defending this game in particular.
Well, because for instance, there are some games that it's worked kind of. Well, we'll see. Remnant 2 had a season pass you could buy the first.
Yeah, if they have planned
3.
story content that's coming
Yeah.
out later, and but the game is a full game, you don't need that stuff.
It
then
depends on how you do it.
that's why I said it's not a black and white thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
there's
agree.
sometimes you get stuff like, and I know it's old and dead at this point, but Skyrim had that horse armor DLC, which is a complete slap in the face, right?
Yeah.
That kind of shit's for the birds. Like, get that
Sure.
out of here. And if it's something that gives you FOMO, get that out of here too. And I realize FOMO is a powerful selling point, which to them is the most important thing. But
FOMO is almost a deterrent for me unless I'm already invested in a game. But if
Yeah.
I'm not invested in a game and I know there's going to be FOMO, I'm not going to invest into it.
yeah, but if it's just extra stuff, and I think another great example you can give to this is like, look how many people played Borderlands 2, and then that just had tons of DLC that came out over time
Borderlands
too.
2 is so fucking good.
And there's no complaints there
Mm-hmm.
because it felt fine, right? Because there's a good and bad way to do it. It's like when everyone complains about service games, and then like Helldivers 2 is amazing, and that's 100% a service game. So it's not that it's a bad thing. It's that most people
There's always ways you can do it correct.
are just bad at doing things because they don't care about you as the consumer. They care about their bottom line.
Well, I don't like when I said season pass earlier, I meant battle passes, but
Yes.
I'm not a fan of battle passes, but I like how Deep Rock Galactic does theirs, but it's not like a legit battle pass because it's not a pay for battle pass.
Well, there's no FOMO.
And there's no FOMO because everything you don't unlock goes into the game once the season ends. So you're not missing out on anything. But that's not the case for most games. So
Yeah, season pass is usually just buying all the DLC in advance.
yeah, it can be like that, or just like fucking random content drops or whatever.
Or in fighting games, it's usually characters for the year.
Outfits, stuff like
Yeah.
that. It just depends on how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it does feel servicey when they do that kind of shit.
Sure.
And so, yeah, it's not very exciting for me.
And to be clear, I would be in preference of them just releasing
Yeah.
a full game.
yeah, or expansion, or yeah, I agree with that.
But I do think there are times where DLC is fine as long as it doesn't feel like if you don't get it, you got screwed out of something. So
My big worry is that this is going to be a very Ubisoft open world style game.
Oh,
'Cause
probably.
it's Ubisoft, and so their season pass of content is going to be similar to what they've done in the past, where it's like, a new warlord shows up on the map, and there's going to be like a really cheap little story of like, over the radio, they're going to tell you the story, and then you got to unlock like Sam Fisher's fucking outfit in Star Wars by completing that mission
well,
line or
I
something
don't
like
think
that.
that would really change Star Wars much for me. But yeah, I see what
Sure,
you're saying.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like when Ubisoft is saying they're going to do something like this, I'm just like, well, I don't expect much from you, honestly. So I
Sure, and I
I
agree
get
with
why
that,
people
too.
are not stoked about it. Like I said, I've never had a controversial opinion about this. I've seen a lot of people really upset by this though, and so
Sure.
Ubisoft has been very good about upsetting people with all their releases for like the last 4 years. And,
and then the shit they decide to say in public is
yeah, they're getting really bad, which sucks because they used to be a really good example of how you should handle communicating with your community and your fan base. They're not that anymore, so they've definitely deteriorated in that way.
yeah. Well, yeah, all I know is the game has technically has 4 price options, and it feels like they're definitely trying to funnel you towards the service one and not the purchase ones. So.
Yeah, which makes sense. Ubisoft's practices, everything that they're working towards, is definitely they're looking for ways to monetize more from people. They said they wanted more games as a service games, online games, all that kind of stuff. And
They don't want you to own anything.
releasing a single player game is not going to be as simple as just releasing a full content experience single player game, but a segmented forever game that's going to have things rolling out for it that they can keep charging you for. That makes complete sense for Ubisoft. So yeah, but before we go all in, I do think the pricing is kind of crazy, and the always online things annoying for sure, but not
Not the first is
not
good, obviously,
super
but it is annoying.
unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get why people don't like it. I don't like it either.
Yeah, no, it's
for a single player game, but unless there's like online features, but I think in a single player game you should be able to opt out of those.
it's straight up control. That's all it is.
Sure, no, I fucking agree with you. Before we watch this story trailer, though, do you remember much on the gameplay that we watched of this?
Nope.
It's a open world Star Wars game, which is
Probably
unique.
I forgot. But yeah.
You play as like some kind of like fucking scoundrel type like CD crime family person. Like I how the fuck what's it? What are the people who I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, you're gonna be running into like Jabba the Hutt and shit. And Smuggler. Thank you. Fucking Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're playing like a smuggler type character, so you're running into a lot of like the seedy underbelly of Star Wars.
You're Han Solo.
Crime families. Han Solo apparently is in this too. It takes place between Empire and Jedi. So it's in the part of Star Wars timeline that I actually like, but I don't expect anything from modern Star Wars story-wise.
True.
And apparently this is canon too, but what's that fucking matter? Doesn't mean anything. And yeah, you're gonna be like shooting stuff. You got a pet. I think you just run around trying to plan a heist or something. So, yeah, does that sound interesting to you? An open world Star Wars game?
No.
That's fair.
I'm not. I mean, if you've watched the channel for a while, you know I struggle with open world games, anyways. And then I'm not a Star Wars fan, so it's kind of hard to sell me on it. I'm not like opposed to Star Wars to the point where like I'll never play one, but it's not a selling point for me. If you say it's a Star Wars property, like it just needs to be a good game that just happens to be Star Wars. That's the part I'm going to care about. So
yeah, Disney Star Wars is almost a deterrent for me. If you tell me there's a new Star Wars thing coming out in modern time, I'm like, okay, who cares? Like fucking whatever. It's going to be made for children, whatever. But I do like the older Star Wars, but
they are the minority at this point.
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah, I remember when I think it was like Kathleen Kennedy or whoever the hell was talking about like
Eric Cartman.
Sorry.
There was a episode of South Park where he was her, and there was a lot of commentary on the state of Disney. It was funny.
Yeah. So. That's accurate. But they were talking about that they need to stop releasing Star Wars so quickly and space them out a bit. I'm like, it's a little late to be making that decision. That should have been obvious in the beginning, but you obviously never.
Think everyone needs to do that with every IP.
Sure. But if you don't give a fuck about the property, but you care about how much money that property can make, you're not thinking about the best interest of the brand. You're just going, how much fucking money can we make out of this?
Yeah, for sure.
From people who just blindly consume this shit. And so it was used in that regard, and they just pumped out Star Wars shit nonstop. And so, yeah, when I hear something Star Wars, the fanfare they try to present with it, I'm just like, there's a whole demographic just like me who that doesn't mean shit to anymore. So anyway, that being said, I am curious about, first off, a new Ubisoft IP. That's cool. It is Star Wars, but it's the first time they're really dabbling with that. It's an open world Star Wars game, so I'm curious about how that's going to work. Nothing new for Ubisoft. They have standardized how open worlds function in terms of running around and keeping you busy. Everybody always refers to Ubisoft when it comes to open world design. And yeah, I'm definitely curious about it. If I hear good things about it, I would probably pick it up. But I'm not excited about it for the Star Wars property. But as a new game, sounds interesting. So yeah, with that, we should probably watch this story trailer. This is the Star Wars Outlaws official story trailer in 3, 2, 1, and go. Fill us in on the smuggler thing I forgot the word for.
Represents some of the most powerful criminal organizations in the galaxy. Pikes, Crimson Dawn, Hutts. It's a golden age for the underworld. The Empire controls every corner of the galaxy, but they're distracted by a rebellion that won't quit. It's an opportunity
Not
to
the most
make
impressive
millions.
cinematic.
Hey, Vess. the underworld's favorite new scoundrel. We meet at last.
What do you want?
Zarek Besh. They're new, rich, and lethal. You crossed their boss Sliro, and now he wants you
feathered hair going on.
True.
Rob his fortune, buy your freedom.
This job, it's a death wish. I'm in.
Out here,
A lot of people are
you live and
complaining.
die by your reputation. You want to survive? Know the players.
You're new to this world.
What's your problem?
Come back when you're not.
Jabba, right? Look, don't try anything. I got a whole crew surrounding the... Okay, we're skipping that part.
For about as long as I can remember, it's just been me and Nix. Doing what we have to survive. This job is my one shot at freedom. But if we're gonna pull this off, we need the right crew. And the right ship. Yes. Hang on.
I don't know if it's the way they recorded it
Hi,
or whatever, but
because you were one of the best hunters in the Outer Rim.
the animation looks funny to me.
She's
for
more
some
connected
reason.
than you
Stiff
let on,
looking for
Selena.
sure.
Bess is mixed up in something bigger.
The Outer Rim is a dangerous place. Everyone is fighting for their piece of the galaxy.
It's cool that you have to go to different planets
All
in
I
an open
want
world setting.
is to
and
live free.
wait for it. You just see comparisons to
gonna
Starfield
risk
when
it
it
all.
comes out. I guarantee it.
Hold on, Nick!
But that is kind of promising. Go to different locations like that.
Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, early
pre-order
access for
available
just
now.
about to.
For a single player game?
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Which is weird because it's been around for a while. People have been doing that
Yeah.
for a while, but at the same time, yeah, people are not happy about that. I've like only heard like negative things about this fucking game. One thing I was gonna say is because the discourse of Vindictus, Defying Fate. Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
yeah.
And Stellar Blade. People have been attacking the character model in this game, saying that she's not very attractive, which I don't care about, but I do think she looks generic. But that's not a complaint that would make me not play a game. I just think they look really generic.
I think if we're to loosely be on that category, because I understand where it's coming from, obviously, but I think the characters like fine looking.
Sure.
Like, I don't think they're like impressive in any regard. I don't even necessarily mean attractiveness, just in like they don't have a presentation as a main character to me, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd go as far as to say they're necessarily ugly either.
I just saw a lot of people post about that, and I was like,
Yeah. I know where they're coming from, and a lot of times I actually do agree with that sentiment.
yeah.
I still think I think it's a little off the mark here a little bit, but yeah, but the character is not exciting for me either. Like this is very,
Yeah.
very like I think you said very well. It's very kind of generic. looking
Generic. It's a lesser Han Solo.
character. Yeah, it's
They
fine.
got the sideways
Like,
belt,
yeah.
which is very smuggler from Star Wars. They got the jacket, it's very smuggler from Star Wars. The whole outfit is just like if you were playing a Star Wars MMO and you were starting class like smuggler, they would look like that.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but maybe a very big maybe. Obviously, character development may make them a little more interesting. Also, think the guy who's like doing all the talking and meeting looks like he belongs in Game of Thrones and not in Star Wars.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kind of weird, but whatever. Like these are nitpicks. Like I don't. They're not like gameplay things. My biggest problem is that like there's no gameplay here because it's a story trailer. So, yeah, I don't know. It kind of looks how I expected it to. Other than I think the cinematic was done. It wasn't done very good justice with the animation department. It has like weird pauses constantly. It drives me insane. So, but yeah, otherwise it looks like a Star Wars game that's coming out. I don't know how to really comment on it beyond that. So,
Yeah, my interest in this game is really how they're going to do an open world Star Wars game. And so the gameplay is where I'm still interested. This trailer did nothing for me, hype wise. This didn't get me excited for it. It didn't get me not excited for it. It didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think it's worth noting too that that has not a pick on this game.
Yeah.
These kind of trailers usually don't do it. So
Sure, yeah. And we have seen gameplay, even though you forgot it.
definitely did.
We did get a whole gameplay trailer when they revealed this game. I forgot what event that was at, but it showed her go to a bar, and then she got on a bike, and she's driving through like the fucking desert, and she goes to a place that she's sneaking around, she's shooting people, and her little pet, you can like send it out to attack people and stuff like that. So it looks like a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
Which I like shooters, so that works for me. So I'm still kind of interested in this. But yeah, as for like a trailer for the story, this didn't do anything to get me excited for the story. The character, like I said, seems generic. That's not good or bad. That's just like whatever.
Right.
Neutral. I don't care how she looks.
Fair.
At all. I don't care. I don't play games for like hot characters, although I do think if you want to make hot characters, fucking do it and don't complain about it. And if you want to make characters that aren't hot, who cares? It's like it's all about the character and how they're written and how they're performed.
Definitely.
And the gameplay, the fucking gameplay is the most important thing for me. It's a video game. But yeah, it is promising in some ways, though. I do like the idea that it'll have like all these different varied open world locations on different planets. This showed thematically a lot of that. It's a trailer for the story, so we didn't see really a whole lot of gameplay. I don't think the cinematics are done super well, but I do like that it is a more cinematic experience. We don't get a lot of that from Ubisoft. Ubisoft makes a lot of like fucking level-based or open world games that you get dialogue through quick, like you meet up with a dude out in a field and he goes, "Hey, I need you guys to go over here. This guy's really been, giving us a hard time. Go take him out." And it's like, okay. And that's how you get the story. So that it even has cinematics, I give them that. Like, that's cool. I am a little worried, though, because I don't think Ubisoft is very strong at storytelling in their games. It's a lot of, like, logs and talking to random NPCs, but they're not good at, like, doing a cinematic style game like this. So this is interesting that they're even attempting that, and I hope they do it well. I hope they can tell a story that's worth telling. I mean, so far it's just like you're a smuggler, Han Solo's there, like none of that's super exciting for me, but I could play and be completely wrong. So
sure.
I'm open to that. I'm not somebody who's just like, this looks bad, fuck this game. Like I said, the gameplay itself sounds interesting to me, but overall the trailer's fun. Didn't do anything for me though. I'm not excited for the game from this trailer. I would have rather seen a gameplay trailer, but we did get that, so it's only fair that they release a story trailer to let us know what the hell's even happening.
Sure.
But the next trailer hopefully will just be more gameplay or some kind of like overview preview thing or something like that. But I think this comes out this year, right?
Oh, I don't.
Later this year?
I don't know.
Pretty
I
sure?
assume so since they priced it.
Did it say it at the end? I wasn't even paying attention. It's just like early access, and I was like, okay, cool.
Oh yeah, it's right there.
Where's that? August 30th.
Yeah.
So, towards the end of the year, kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be good because a lot of the games that have come out, this year have already come out. Like they're flying out in the early part of the year. So it's good that there's something worth looking forward to later in the year. So
yeah, I mean, I'd be, if it reviews well, I'd be curious to check it out. Though it is kind of a low priority for me. There's a lot of other stuff this year I'm definitely focused on right now, but. I'm not like completely turned off by it. I do think the pricing system is crap, but fortunately for me, there's nothing in the expensive ones I care about. I would just buy the base game. So
yeah, a lot of the criticism I've seen, here's gameplay. A lot of the criticism I've seen, people are just like, is Ubisoft fucking serious with this pricing for this game?
Oh, they definitely are. Yeah.
So just like a lot of people are just not really into it. Who came out recently? The dude who runs Saber, because they just bought themselves from Embracer, which is fucking awesome.
Wild,
to see.
yeah.
Yeah, like that's great because Embracer is a sinking ship. I'm worried about the team behind Remnant too because they're part of Embracer. Recently, they just posted a thing about their name changing or something like that. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. But anyway, Saber Interactive was able to buy themselves from Embracer, so that's great. And they said all their games are still coming out as they should. But he was recently talking about how he thinks $70 games are unsustainable. I haven't read the interview, I need to, but that was just an interesting thing to hear. Because for me, I'm like, $70 has always made sense. It's inevitable, it's going to happen. But he's saying it's just a price point that that people are just not going to want to keep continue to pay. So at some point, the developers are going to have to either cut back on certain things or develop or whatever, and try to drop those prices. Because in a way, it would be right. If people just will not pay that price, they're not going to be able to sell it. And so,
well, and I don't want to get too into this as a category, just because I know it could be sensitive for some people, but in the market, in the free market, if you don't pay for it, they're gonna adjust to that, right? Yeah. So like, constantly preaching, speak with your wallet, speak with your wallet, speak with your wallet. And even though like you could come to the show and like me and stuff, they're gonna be like fine with spending $70 on a game. If you're not, you shouldn't. Yeah. And if enough people do that, those changes will happen. I also think it's worth pointing out that when you get games currently in the current market of gaming, you get all these $70 AAA games that are coming out, but then you get $30 games where you could buy like 3 or 4 of those for the price of one of these $70 games, and they're bigger and more fun. I mean, Helldivers 2 is a great example of this. Like, this game
just
is
better value for less money, yeah.
And you will play the shit out of that game.
Yeah.
And you won't feel ripped off, right? And I think that is just where the market is right now. Like, people don't want to, because let's be real, no one has any money right now. Like,
yeah,
so
for sure.
I don't think we are in a market for AAA in general. Like, unless it's just a phenomenal, if God of War comes out, like, people are gonna like go ahead and spend the money on something like that. But I don't think people want to spend money on these very blatant games that companies like Ubisoft and EA are going to try to sell to you.
With the topic of the dude from Saber saying that $70 is unsustainable, he's got 2 things backing that right now. 2 huge examples. Kill the Justice League, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, I saw was selling for $30 recently. The game came out like a month ago or 2, maybe. The game was a huge dud.
That's full of bad decisions, but yeah.
That's a AAA, like 500-person team, $70 game. And then Skull and Bones, they were offering like free weekends, different sales. They're just trying to get it in people's hands. The quadruple A game, also a huge fucking dud. Those are 2 games that demand $70, and people were like, no.
Skull and Bones is so tone deaf, though. Like, let's be real. The whole time that game was coming out, I don't know why I'm feeling so argumentative today, but the whole time the game was coming out, there was no like excitement or buzz around it. It was just people going, "What is this game?" and then constantly comparing it to Sea of Thieves, even though it's not Sea of Thieves.
And then they came out and were like, "You can't get off your ship," and that just killed all the buzz.
And then they didn't listen to any of that conversation that was happening around the game, and they just stubbornly went forward with the plan, and it backfired. Like, these companies need people who are just listening. That's the biggest problem. No one's listening.
Yep.
So, sorry. I don't know why I'm amped up right now over this shit, but it's stupid. It's so stupid.
But yeah, this is the gameplay. I think the gameplay
looks fine.
Of this game looks kind of interesting to me.
Sure.
Especially when they're like driving around on the bike. I thought it looked pretty good. So this has me interested. But the story trailer didn't do much for me. So I think I'll probably leave it there. And as for the price point and $70 and what games are worth, let us know in the comments what you think about that as well. It's obviously a topic that people are talking about right now. And I think, as somebody who has been for years now saying $70 games will be the standard, and they're pushing that now, so it is happening. It is interesting to see pushback on that topic from other devs, and then seeing this year great examples of exactly that: $70 games failing and $30 games thriving. So, but the economy also affects that.
Dragon's Dogma 2 was $70 and was fine. So
yeah, good point. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I honestly, I don't
regrets
think the price is
for
the
that.
problem. I think the people who are charging those prices
value.
are not making respectable games.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. They're just being complacent. They're like, you'll buy this, right?
Yeah, I think if people were making people look at the end of the day, you don't want to feel ripped off. And if you're making a product that people think is it worth $70, people will buy it, like just straight up. Like
Yeah.
I've seen how gamers are when it comes to their finances. So,
Sure. Don't gotta convince me too hard to buy your game, but this year it has been pretty easy to skip a couple games.
Sure.
So
sure. Respect and you know, listening to your consumer base are definitely very important things.
especially right now because people don't got money, so people are looking for who will value their money as much as they are trying to,
So I mean,
and offering something worthwhile. So
do your research, don't pre-order games, and speak with your wallet.
I saw somebody like a week ago, like they're like, I'm not gonna pre-order games anymore, and they're like going this whole spiel. And I was like, good, don't.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta explain yourself. Just don't do it. Don't pre-order games.
Yeah.
It's not a good practice for anybody. So it's rare that I'll do it, and it's because they're actually offering some early access thing I actually want. But even then, I don't want to do it. I typically don't.
I
But
pre-order Final Fantasy 14 expansions, but that's an
I don't
MMO, so-
remember the last game I pre-ordered, but I know I've had people gift me games early as a pre-order, and I appreciate that. No complaint
Sure.
there. But I typically don't go on my way to pre-order games because it's not. I think people get excited and they want to feel like they've already spent the money and they're locked in and ready to play it, and I get that mentality. But I also
Well, for some people, it helps them budget, right? And that's fine too.
sure, yeah,
But
yeah. There's
I
a
think
bunch
as
of
a general
reasons.
practice, if you don't want to get screwed, don't pre-order stuff.
Yeah, I think it sends the wrong message. So, paying for something you haven't got yet, unproven, is just not wise. So, but yeah, sometimes maybe it is a financial thing where like I got the money now, I'm gonna do it, so I just have it locked in, and
Sure,
you know,
I could
something comes up
advertise
later.
you this delicious burger, and you could give me $20 for it, and then I can give you the real thing, and it could be a slider.
Yeah, it's just an IOU. Yeah. You know,
So
anything else on Star Wars Outlaws?
the game looks fine. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it. Like it looks fine.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. I will be curious to see the reception when it comes out. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think about basically everything we just talked about, but also Star Wars Outlaws. How are you feeling about the story trailer? Good, bad, whatever. All is welcome. And what do you think about the gameplay since we're revisiting that? And are you excited? Are you going to pick it up? Are you going to wait and see what people have to say about it? And what are you most excited about when it comes to this game? Let us know everything you're thinking about in the comments below when it comes to all that shit. All right. So the next video we got is a game called Jump Ship. This is the first preview of it via IGN. And this is a game that I know a little bit about, and I thought it'd be interesting to watch because I want to get your take on it. I want to discuss it. So, Jump Ship apparently is a game that you're going to be playing co-op with your friends. You're going to be getting in a ship, kind of like FTL, and taking care of it and working on different parts of it while going on missions, basically. So, we'll watch this and then we'll get your thoughts on it. Because
Okay.
otherwise,
I only know what
getting
you
into.
kind of said. So
Yep. All right. So this is Jump Ship, the first preview in 3, 2, 1, go.
Every once in a while, my job affords me the wonderful opportunity to go into a game demo completely blind and come out completely enlightened. All I knew about Jump Ship before I met with 3 of its 10-person Swedish development team, including Daniel Kaplan, who was employee number 1 at Mojang, and Philip Koulianos, a co-founder at Hazelight, was that it was codenamed Hyperspace and that it would be a, quote,
visual
4-player
style I
co-op
like.
adventure where you and 3 of your friends get to live the ultimate space fantasy. It started as a tech demo, but everyone loved it, so now it's being made into a full game. I was
Love
fortunate enough to play a 30-minute session with Kaplan, Koulianos, and another member of Keepsake Games, and I was
Apparently, you
blown
can
away.
walk on that ship while they're flying it
that's
because
creepy.
you have like gravity boots.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So you can fly upside down
The
and shit.
headline you clicked on to get into this video is not hyperbole.
The
By
first preview.
Keepsake's own definition, and one that I'd
I wonder what the
co-signed
title
after
originally
playing
was.
the game for myself, Jump Ship is a clear mix of Sea of Thieves, Left 4 Dead, and FTL.
Ooh, FTL is fun
the
but
Sea of
rough.
Thieves
Oh, yeah.
piece comes from the fact
I
that
agree
you
with
and
that.
your 3 teammates all work together to fly, upgrade, customize, and maintain a single spaceship. One of you flies it, while the others can wander around inside of it, or even on the outside of it if you pass through an airlock and then use your magnetized boots to stomp around the hull, manning, fixing, or upgrading the ship's
This is
cannons.
gonna be like one of those streamable
That in
games.
and of itself
Oh, yeah.
is fun. But even if Jump Ship was just Sea of Thieves in space, where you and your crew cooperated in ship-to-ship battles, it'd still probably be pretty cool.
Oh, nice. That was the hit.
But
I wonder if you can
instead,
just,
you'll
like, shoot
also
from
land your
the
ship,
outside
use
the
your
ship, too,
jet
like that.
drive to awesomely fly through the air like Superman away from or towards your ship, go into instanced combat areas and battle AI enemies. Jump Ship, by the way, is a purely PvE game,
Thank you.
marking one major difference from Sea of Thieves in encounters that can get pretty tough, thus necessitating
for D
cooperation with your
part
pals.
thing.
Gotcha. A grenade, Spider-Man.
Add in that an AI director, to use Valve's term, dynamically populates these encounters, and you can see where the Left 4 Dead ingredient in Jump Ship's
Yeah, it's cool.
recipe comes from.
They have that.
Override is required.
I had a fantastic time blasting bots with the Keepsake developers. Finally, FTL. On board your ship, you'll manage power conduits and other ship functions in an FTL
I think the ship part
minigame,
sounds awesome.
which sadly I don't have footage of. All of it combines into a moment-to-moment
Yeah.
that's never dull and constantly evolving.
Hostile entities detected.
Like as long as there's stuff
Just
to
when
work
you
towards
get
and
bored
progress
of
towards,
manning
I'm
the ship,
sold.
assuming you're not the
Yeah.
pilot, which by the way is super fun, it's time to
I'm not
land and go
flying.
into full first-person shooter mode.
I
And when
hate
you've done
operating
plenty
vehicles
of
in games.
shooting and got your loot reward and are escaping and being blasted at as your ship departs, you're scrambling aboard the ship to make necessary repairs like a Star Trek crew. Meanwhile, you
yeah,
can
that
choose
part
any
is
number of
attractive
mission
to me for
types for
sure.
your ship map, from smaller loot-light payoffs that won't take too long, to longer multi-part episodes that have bigger rewards. Keepsake promises a metagame that will enable various forms of permanent character and ship
There you go.
progression,
Okay.
but naturally I didn't have a chance to see those in my short hands-on session. Still, I've seen enough to be thoroughly convinced. Jump Ship is going to take us through crazy space battles, dogfights in the skies of planets, intense on-foot missions on the ground, and more, all while working together with 3 friends in ways that feel fun and useful without being frustrating. Kaplan and Koulianos told me that it's going to ship simultaneously on PC and Xbox whenever it's finally ready, and I can't wait. For
Crossplay?
more looks at the latest upcoming games, check out our previews of Dune Awakening and Visions of Mana. And for
All right. Well, that's that game. What do we think?
It sounds like crack, to be honest.
Yep.
I love the Left 4 Dead formula.
Same.
It definitely works for me. FTL was super addictive, but very difficult. And what was the other game they said it was like again? Drawing a huge blank
I don't
right
remember
now.
either.
Anyways, the whole formula idea, because like I like the idea that the ship part is like its own little meta game, and then you get off that
Home-based
ship.
hub. Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's like still like there's dogfights and stuff happening while you're
Yeah.
in there, and
Yeah.
then like you
Sea of Thieves.
land, you do a mission, and then you leave, and you just kind of rinse and repeat that process, and then there are unlockables and stuff like that, and then the Sea of Thieves part, or like they mentioned Star Trek part of it, because it's it's a spaceship. That's awesome. Like that's the one thing I always think is kind of missing in a lot of the. Wow, there's just not a lot of games like this, anyways. In
Yeah.
general, specifically this formula, but like Sea of Thieves. One of my favorite parts about that game is like taking care of the ship, which obviously those are just chores, but I love chore type games, anyways. Like games like Stardew Valley, etc. Like I like doing things like that. So yeah, being a passenger or a crewmate on a ship. I don't want to be pilot. I already emphasized that, but I will gladly do the other stuff. So.
I would gladly pilot. I like driving and flying shit. It's funny because like this obviously has a different ambition on what it's trying to do, but it kind of reminds me of a bigger version of Marauders, which is an extraction shooter. Because in Marauders, you start out with your friends, partied up in your own little hub, not together, but just in a place where you can sell stuff and craft stuff. But then when you go on missions, you start in a little ship and you can buy different ships, and it's actually a really cool small part of the game when you're approaching what would be like the arena of an extraction shooter like in Tarkov or Hunt, where it's just like the level. You're actually in a ship flying to different space stations that you can choose which one you want to go to. And while you're out there, there's other players in those in their ships, and there's this tension. It's like you're in a submarine almost. And one person's piloting, trying to get there, and somebody's like on the guns, and there's like fire extinguishers and stuff in case you get attacked, and people can board your ship. And so even though this doesn't have PvP, which I think is refreshing, that they're not just turning this into, Marauders or Sea of Thieves, basically, that is just PvE. It kind of reminds me of that Marauders early part of each match where you're flying in and there's a whole game of just getting to the location first and making sure you got people in the right spots in case something goes fucking wrong, or if it might go smoothly and you fly in with no problems. That is kind of a fun thing in Marauders of like, just make sure everybody's kind of ready in case something fucking goes off. This has something similar to that, which I think is really cool. So even though, like I said, the mission structure is different because you're going on full on missions and not just scavenging for things. So it'd be cool to kind of have a similar experience in a PvE game.
Yeah, and it just kind of comes off as like a light version of like Star Citizen, where you can have multi-people ships and you can land and do missions and stuff too. Obviously, that's more of like a sim experience.
Yeah, this is more straight
of
to
an
the point.
action game, but which is honestly, I hate to say it, the older I get, more preferable.
Yeah.
Just because time-wise, I like a sim game's very time heavy.
Yeah, you gotta live in them.
Yeah.
You gotta really invest time in them.
I play too many games for that these days.
Yeah, so. And that's fun, but a game that's a little more structured, a little more gameplay oriented of like, this is the gameplay loop. You're just gonna do this. As long as it adds enough dynamic stuff to it, Helldivers too. It's fun to just play that with your friends, have that objective that you're working towards constantly. I feel like this game could be like that, where you are just going on these missions and you get kind of a rhythm where everybody's got their position on the ship and then you go in and you do them. And I do like that it has the AI director as well, because that will add dynamic elements to the missions. I love games when they have AI directors because it makes everything different feeling every time you do the same kind of mission over and over and over again.
I also think it's important too, like, that the people who aren't piloting have these things to do. It's like, because like you can stand on the deck, with your mag boots and like actually still shoot and stuff like that, which is great. And hopefully there's like mountain guns and stuff like that.
It looks like there is.
But being able to just go out there with a rocket launcher, for example, I think is a good thing to add, because obviously you don't want to just be stuck on only being repair duty while the pilot's killing everything, basically. And I think they definitely thought about like making sure everyone has something to do, which is good. And that's something I liked about Sea of Thieves as well, is that everyone has something to do. So.
Oh yeah, that's when you're in the shit in Sea of Thieves and everybody's running around the ship trying to figure things out. It's always exciting. And so this game, I get why they say Sea of Thieves, because it definitely sounds like you're gonna have similar experiences.
Yeah, I mean, they even showed the example of someone running down, finding the fire, grabbing the fire extinguisher, and then having to take care of that. And hopefully it was more than just fires, obviously. But he said he didn't have footage, so we didn't get to see it. But I think that part's super interesting to me, because it'll add a level of tension and chaos that'll make every experience a little different too. So
yeah, this is interesting because it looks like you're gonna be able to put something here. So I wonder if that's going to be part of the customization of the ship, is like certain sections you'll be able to put certain things.
Well, I hope the long-term goal too is to have different ship designs and parts and stuff like that.
I hope so. Marauders has different ships, and it's an extraction shooter that flying around is like a small part of the combat.
Well, you want longevity, like giving people customization options. I'll repeat a mission 7,000 times to make my ship look cool. So
yeah, weapons upgrades, and then the ship itself, the way it looks, upgrade the weapons, or at least change things to how it is preferable to you would be fucking awesome. So obviously they said this was like an early like prototype basically, and then they decided to make it into a game. So it probably has, you know, a long way to go in terms of content, but it does seem like they have a working model that is already interesting for me, or interesting enough for me to want to play it.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
So yeah, seems like we're both interested in it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's cool. Anything else you want to say on it?
Nope. Just make sure you know, you make a fun game before you release it to the public. So
yep. Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you guys think about Jump Ship. Is this a game for you? Is this a game that's not going to really be for you? What looked most exciting to you? And what would you hope from a game like this? And if there are games out like this already that you play and you think we might want to check out, let us know in the comments below. Of course, Sea of Thieves is an easy one. But just drop recommendations down below, because I know there's some indie games out there that have some kind of similar vibes. So yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next video, which is Dune Awakening, the first preview. I've been waiting to watch this for a while now.
Same.
Waiting for a Tastecast to do this, so here we are, catching up, but I still have not watched this. This is a game that I've been looking forward to for a while, because it is they're calling it an MMO. Is it an MMO? I don't know what MMO means anymore. People just say that when it's a fucking
when it's
multiplayer
online,
game. Yeah. But I do know it is a survival style game. I think it's being made by the same people who make Conan Exiles, which I fucking love. I think it's one of the best of its style of survival games out there.
Yeah, it and Ark are definitely two of my favorite styles, but they're very similar. So
yeah, they're very similar in their structure. One, you know, feels a little more third person actiony, and the other one's first person shooter. So, but yeah, we'll just watch this and then we'll get our opinions out there. You know, coming from seeing Dune Part 2, I'm still fucking super pumped on everything Dune, so I'm ready for more. And this is a proven dev, so I'm looking forward to whatever they have in store for us. You have anything else you want to say before we watch this?
I think you pretty much said what I would say. So.
All right, this is Dune Awakening, the first preview, in 3, 2, 1, go.
As a massive fan of survival games and Dune, I'll admit to being a bit skeptical about an open-world survival game that takes place on the famously barren planet of Arrakis. But after an hour-long presentation of the upcoming Dune Awakening, those concerns have disappeared entirely. Based on the hands-off showcasing of what's to come when this MMO survival game hits early access later this year, it certainly appears that developer Funcom has taken their hard-won learnings from the underrated Conan Exiles and applied it to this ambitious multiplayer world set in one of sci-fi's most beloved galaxies. Whether it was the impressively detailed character creation options, the intricate RPG systems filled with skill trees and craftables, or the absolute insanity of trying to outrun a Shai-Hulud or escape a massive sandstorm, Dune Awakening appears to be on track to become the sci-fi survival game I've always dreamt of, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Oh god, that's terrifying.
Arrakis is a test. Few survive it.
How do you make a survival game set in an utterly desolate wasteland of sand? Well, according to Funcom, the answer lies in the hidden spaces of Arrakis. Described in Frank Herbert's novels, these hidden pockets of shade and refuge are home to life and microbiomes that will be altogether unfamiliar to those who have only seen the movies. But Dune Awakening hopes to lean pretty heavily on their existence to fill the massive desert with things for players to do. Whether that be finding a pocket of shelter to build a base in, delving into a cave that's home to hostile creatures, or taking down remote enemy bases in search of loot and resources. In fact, the wide-open empty spaces filled with hot sand might be more of an asset than a hindrance, as it allows for a heat stroke mechanic where players are punished for spending time in direct sunlight with some pretty devastating debuffs. Meaning players will instead need to dart from shelter to shelter, battling the elements as they explore the world and its many hidden spaces.
I'll make this interesting.
God, I hate that. Like in a good way, but I hate it.
Combined with the forever game of the floor is lava that is dodging sandworms of Arrakis, players will need to remain on the move constantly and develop strategies for managing their water reserves, protecting against the heat, and of course, engaging in the never-ending struggle for all-important spice. In one leg of the demo, players work together to claim a massive deposit of spice while keeping an eye out for the ever-looming threat of the Shai Hulud, drawn to their activity in the desert, only to
That'll
be
be
unexpectedly overwhelmed by a sandstorm instead, which swallowed them and their precious cargo along with them. In another section, a group of players work together to infiltrate a high-level facility filled with rare materials and dangerous enemies, making sure to harvest the blood of fallen baddies to replenish their rapidly depleting water reserves. Before the demo, I had a lot of questions about how a Dune survival game would even work without becoming extremely monotonous in short order, but by the end, I found myself wondering why in the heck someone hadn't made one sooner. Seeing all the clever ways Dune Awakening plans to make brilliant use of Dune's unique lore made me a believer.
Cool that they're able to do it in a satisfying way, because Arrakis is pretty
Beyond the major
unforgiving,
things Dune
so,
Awakening
yeah.
aims to get right, the demo also included all these little details that took my hype to the next level, like how they showed off an incredibly detailed character creation engine that included things like choosing your home planet and origin to decide some of your starting traits and aspects of your appearance, or how the in-depth skill trees and crafting system allowed you to drastically augment your playstyle from a telekinetic mentalist with a bag of supernatural tricks to run-and-gun soldiers with a bag of high explosives. As someone who has spent a good deal of time with the Dune tabletop RPG, dreaming up the characters I'd like to portray in that universe, this looks like it'll scratch an itch I've had for decades, and I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on it when it hits early access later this year.
Arrakis is a test. Few survive it. But the humans that do awaken.
For more, check out our recent previews of Zenless Zone Zero and Fatal Fury City of Wolves. And for everything else, keep sand.
All right, what do we think?
I mean, it's a survival game, so like I'm already interested anyways. I'm not actually the biggest like Dune person, so like that part's not a huge selling point for me. And then like it's a desert, which I notoriously hate. However, they took that into consideration. At least that's what the guy said.
Yeah.
And like, so there's a lot of like stuff in the pockets of shade and in caves and stuff like that that is going to make it a little more interesting. The desert part is literally just going to be the danger from point to point. The little bit I saw of like gameplay stuff looked pretty cool. I like the idea that basically in their own way they have magic users, and they have just like basic normal combat style people in the regards of like psionics and weapons. The building stuff, the little bit we got to see looked pretty cool. The giant building they made was super cool looking, so that's exciting. And the resource management is honestly going to be the part I think will make or break it for me, because I do think there is a fine line between like fun and tedious when it comes to the survival mechanics in a survival game.
I think Funcom handled that well in Conan, though.
Yeah.
And a lot of this kind of sounds like an evolution of Conan.
Well, I imagine it would have to be.
Well, even that they're scaling rock walls. They're
Yeah.
climbing on walls. I mean, Conan, you could climb on everything, which I love. And that's not like super common in survival games. So, that fucking place they built's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of just sounds like Conan, except for with sci-fi stuff. Mechanics wise, obviously Dune's different than Conan, but from a prior game they've made to this, both survival games, both online games, it sounds like they're bringing a lot of things they've learned from that game over. Especially, there was sandstorms in Conan that were fucking. The first time we experienced one was crazy.
Yeah.
We had to like build a shelter and try and survive it. So they have a pedigree already in some of the stuff that they're working with. So I'm really curious to see what they do with a more advanced game.
Most of the vehicles are crazy looking.
I fucking love that there's vehicles in the game, because in this desert, one thing about it that I think looks cool is it looks big. It doesn't look like, like in Conan, it seemed like the map was big, but everything was kind of segmented into pockets of terrain.
The biomes are kind of small. Yeah.
And so in this looks like a big sprawling open desert, and it is an interesting problem to have of like, how do you make that interesting gameplay wise? Because desert. I need to like theme this Tasty Cast the desert episode because it keeps coming up. But because even the jump ship looked like a fucking desert. How do you make that interesting? Well, it sounds like they're thinking about that, how to do that, while also maintaining that, you know, Arrakis, Dune is a desert. So, and you need those big open deserts too, because the sandworms are gigantic. They need to be able to travel. So I do kind of like the idea that you're gonna be having these stressful situations where you have to cross big open areas of desert to get to other locations, under threat of, you know, enemies, sandstorms, sandworms, stuff like that. So they got a lot to work with, and hopefully they can deliver. But the vehicles are promising because that'll make some of those areas a little less daunting. Like the desert looks fucking huge. Every scene it shows. It'll be interesting too to see how sandworms are affected by driving a vehicle, because they got to walk a certain way to make sure sandworms don't detect them in Dune. So obviously driving is definitely not going to be a stealthy way to do that. I am also curious about the classes that they're talking about here, because we're seeing a lot of people with guns, but then we're also seeing people, you know, flying around and using psionic shit,
which I am so down for.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how that works. Were you saying something else? Did I just jump in?
I mean, no.
You were talking about the desert, and I didn't know if there was something else you're trying to get to.
No, I was just kind of, you know, throwing ideas out there that were coming to my head. So
it looks like it has a good variety of equipment too. Like we're seeing a lot of different outfits, a lot of different guns, a lot of like flamethrowers and different vehicle types, and stuff like this, which I'm curious of what's even happening here. Like, is that like an NPC ship that's just patrolling? Like,
I'd assume so.
Yeah, but also that this game's being called an MMO, which I don't fucking.
I'm sure it's going to take the same approach as every survival game, where like you can have online, you know, lobbies basically where PvP's on, and you're doing PvP at that point.
Which I think
I'm not interested in, but I think it's important because a lot of people play survival games for that gameplay loop.
Yeah.
So.
But playing in this like dangerous world against other people would be kind of cool too, because it's not just I'm going to build my fort, and if someone shows up, I'm going to fucking shoot him or something, or I'm going to go invade someone else's fort. There's like, you know, other elements like the sun, the way you travel, the way you have to make sure you don't get attacked by sandworms, stuff like that. That could make that kind of gameplay pretty cool. It's not super exciting for me. I'm going to play this in a PvP way or PvE way, but I think that could make for a really cool, dynamic, open world experience if you're playing in a PvP way. So definitely some promise there.
Yeah.
But overall, for me, I'm really excited for this. I love survival games. I like Dune. I like sci-fi. I like what Funcom has done already with Conan. I think Conan's fucking awesome. So I'm actually really looking forward to this, and it's coming out this year. I don't know if they said early access or not, but I assume it would be.
Yeah. It's a survival game. It's early access.
You know, I jokingly said earlier this year that this year is the JRPG and survival year, because there's all these survival games coming out, have already come out and still coming out. And even though there's been some really great ones, there's also been some duds with like Nightingale. I wasn't a huge fan of that. Hopefully they patch it so it plays better. But we still got more coming out, and this is another one coming out. This one looks really fucking good. Like I'm really excited to play this game. So I'm sold. I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, it's right up my alley as well, because you know, for me, I already kind of brought it up, but my favorite survival games outside of like, you know, the easy one, Minecraft, is I like Ark a lot. I like Conan Exiles a lot. You know, this company had, you know, involvement obviously in that. Yeah, and so I have a feeling a lot of that formula is still going to be there, which is my style of survival game that I enjoy. I appreciate all the other ones, and there's usually things about them I like. Like we recently played, forgot the name of it. Enshrouded, and has a lot of stuff about it I like, but also has some stuff about it that kind of drive me crazy. So, though I do think the building in that game is very satisfying.
It's really good. But if you want to hear more about Enshrouded, we just did a review of that recently. So go watch that. It's the last episode we did. So, and the views on that thing, YouTube's been doing some weird shit because it was like getting views. It got to like 30 something and then dropped down to 8 views for like 3 days straight.
I think it's over 60 now, though.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the real number is because YouTube's just fucking with me. So it's just more bullshit from YouTube. But anyway, go check out that episode if you're curious about our thoughts on Enshrouded. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about Dune Awakening. Are you sold? Are you not? Are you excited? And if you are excited, what are you most excited about when it comes to this? Do you know any details we didn't cover in this fucking video? And preview. Thank you. And let us know what you're excited about when it comes to Dune Awakening in the comments below. And we got one more video to watch, which is Hellblade 2 is taking Immersion to the next level. Also via IGN. This is a 10-minute video and our last video. And I played the last Hellblade. It was a cool experience and definitely impressive at the time. This has been a long time coming. I feel like Hellblade 2 has taken a long time to come out. I know there's a lot riding on it in terms of how it will support the Xbox brand. With last year having, in my opinion, some bad duds in terms of releases for Xbox, I am really hoping, not only just for Xbox, but also the people making this, since they've already made a good game before, that this game will come out and deliver. So I'm really curious to see what they're bringing to it when it comes to taking Immersion to the next level. I want to see gameplay, because every time we see this game, we just see cinematics, which look fucking amazing. But I would like to see, what it's like to play the game. We already know it has good graphics, but, let's see the gameplay. And, I'm definitely looking forward to Hellblade 2. The last one was, like, really high quality and very well made and had some really creative and inventive stuff they did with storytelling and atmosphere and sound design. So I always appreciate when people get creative with sound design, and that game was very creative with it. So,
it's not up my alley at all. So, though I do think visually and the little bit I saw you play the first game, sound stuff is super impressive. So I really am rooting for them for sure. I don't have anything against the game at all. I just know I'm not going to be playing it, so it's not going to be my speed. But I am always like in the camp of like, I want good games regardless if I like them or not. So I do want it to be good, and if it's something even that is enjoyable for me to watch, I think that's a win for me as well. So
sure. All right, well, let's watch this, and then we'll talk about it. This is how Hellblade 2 is taking Immersion to the next level in 3, 2, 1, go.
To say that Senua's next story is an immersive one would be an understatement. During my recent hands-on preview, I was able to sample Hellblade 2's practically palpable atmosphere, delivered via immersive visual and audio techniques. In fact, immersion is the word that powers each aspect of Ninja Theory's sequel. Everything from its character-focused storytelling, high-fidelity art design, and meatier revamped combat is there to envelop you in Senua's world. It's a mantra instilled in the team by studio head Don Matthews. The technology and the techniques that we push here are in pursuit of immersion, he explains. So the questions that we ask ourselves at all times in the game is, what's the story that we want to tell? And then how do we utilize the tools and the creativity that we have available to us to tell that story? Those tools are used in a honed, focused way to ensure Hellblade 2 doesn't lose sight of its goals. We want to stick to that kind of very immersive narrative experience, says VFX director Mark Slater Tunstill. We know our skill sets, we know the sort of people in the team, so let's not go crazy and make a massive open world game. Let's keep it really kind of controlled, immersive, and true to what we're trying to do as storytellers. While Hellblade 2 remains a small game, at least in comparison to its first party powerhouse peers, it has widened its scope over that of its predecessor. Senua's journey will be a lot less isolated this time around, with other humans turning up along the way to share in her story. Matthews explains, one of the things that we really wanted to explore in Hellblade 2 was when you've got someone like Senua, who has a unique model of the world and a unique perspective of the world, what happens when that comes into contact with other people's models of the world?
You're not.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't see the signs.
There is no way.
It's a new challenge that the actress who brought Senua to life, Melina Jurgens, embraced. She credits the new studio space at Ninja Theory, which was built on the success of the first game, for aiding with that process. I think having a new stage enabled us to just have more characters, she says. Before we were shooting in a little meeting room in our old office. It was just me on set as an actor, maybe 3 or 4 more people on set. So it was very intimate, very private. Now we've got this custom built massive stage. So that allows us to have more actors in motion capture, have a stunt team, do our own builds, like hang stuff from the ceiling. There's just so many more possibilities that we can do now. The addition of a wider roster of characters should make Hellblade's world feel more populated and lived in, and as a result, push that sense of immersion. Narrative elements like these new characters go hand in hand with more technological solutions, many of which have been made possible thanks to Ninja Theory's transition to Unreal Engine 5. The software has enabled the team to both recreate real-world locations with extreme detail and bring the wildest parts of their imagination to life. As a creator, UE5 is amazing, Slater Tunstall explains. We can kind of dig in and use parts of the internal screen rendering to do some interesting effects. And yeah, obviously the real-time nature of all the lighting, and now a lot of our effects can be lit as well. It just beds everything in, and everything just fits together much more nicely. Nature has been a big influence for the studio, particularly the stunning vistas of Iceland, but the pursuit of immersion in AAA video games often looks to cinema as much as reality. The filmmaking techniques of director Robert Eggers are of particular inspiration to Dan Atwell, Ninja Theory's environment art director. We really like his ideas of the methods that he used within the Northman's environment, he says, going on to recount a tale of Eggers demanding a film's prop department craft replicas of excavated historical swords, rather than making blades based on mere historical theory. Doing that research and making it as grounded in that sense as possible, we really like his ideology of that stuff.
Interesting, they're so
it will come as no surprise to learn then that Ninja Theory makes
I get it with the uneasiness.
On a tour of the developer's studio, I was shown era-appropriate Celtic and Viking outfits, which had been woven on wooden looms using materials commonly used in the 9th century, such as hemp. These were then scanned into the game to allow their digital counterparts to be rendered as realistic as possible, something further aided by the studio's switch to Unreal Engine 5. Combined with many other artistic and technological approaches, including building rocks from hundreds of photographs taken on location in Iceland, it all makes Hellblade 2 undeniably one of the most graphically impressive games I've ever played. Its character models and lighting effects in particular stand out from the crowd.
What is she supposed to do? Do something. Ask them. What do you want me to do?
That's like tingly with headphones
Jurgens
on,
herself even made the trip out to Scandinavia to take in the harsh surroundings and store those memories for when it came time to reflect on them during her performance. It's very windy, it's rainy, there's sharp rocks everywhere, she recalls. It's quite a daunting place to be, so I actually got frightened when I was out there in that stormy weather, and I try to remember that when I perform. So if there's a scene with rain, I try to squint my eyes as if it's raining or windy, and just try to remember that trip to Iceland and how terrified I was feeling in that environment. I think the technology is so advanced now as well that I don't need to overact. It picks up every little eye twitch or lip shake or finger movement. This very real grounding only serves to make the firmly otherworldly shine even brighter though. Once again, we can see parallels between Ninja Theory and cinema. Some of the reference footage the studio shot in Iceland is of the same locations used by Ridley Scott to craft the planet in Prometheus, which too used grounded reality to help pronounce its supernatural elements. Horrors of a completely different alien variety are no stranger to Senua though, and some of her nightmarish visions will be familiar to those who played the original. Trying to come up with visual things based on people's descriptions of hallucinations is a really interesting challenge, says Slater Tunstall. That's where you can lean on some of the new features of Unreal 5 and have all the geometry you want to replicate those things. Like in the Leap of Faith demo we did last year, with all the repeated rock patterns as the voice is speaking. That would have been trickier beforehand.
What is going to happen? It's time to find out. How can we make it happen?
It's time to find out.
A large offering of Hellblade 2's horrors makes themselves apparent during combat, where hulking attackers throw axes and spit fire at you as hell encompasses the arena in shadows of death. It's an area that the team knew they needed to focus on to make it as immersive as possible in Hellblade 2. The question was, how do we utilize combat as a tool to tell the story, to enhance the story, to move the story forward, explains Matthews. I think games traditionally can at times be segmented from gameplay, story, gameplay, story, gameplay. For us, the approach has been, how do we have every step be meaningful for the story? It was starting with that mindset and thinking about what does that combat system look like when at the forefront of our minds is turning a narrative through it. Battles in Senua's Saga are exclusively one-on-one affairs, but in the background, scenes are playing out with their own stories to tell, whether that be the untimely demise of a villager or the continuation of a horrific ritual. The trick is to not make these vignettes a distraction from the fight itself, and that's achieved through engaging swordplay. Every combat animation has been recorded through performance capture, meaning every swing of Senua's sword is one of many skillfully executed by the talented stunt team. When visiting Ninja Theory's motion capture stage, I got to see some of this fight choreography in action, and let me tell you, they don't hold back. Things started steadily enough with a few sword-on-axe clashes, but swiftly escalated in their violence. The real-life action was impressive, just as it was minutes later when I saw it translated into the game. There's a real heft and flow to combat in Hellblade 2 that wasn't quite there in its predecessor, and that's largely thanks to this newfound approach.
I see it's interesting. You're staying in a grey room.
It's been a long time since 2017's Senua's Sacrifice, but Ninja
later,
Theory
like
is a studio focused on getting the small details right, hoping they all add up to an impressive whole. Over the past 7 years, they've increased the size of their team and upgraded the facilities and technology at their fingertips. All of the immersive techniques the improvements provide are in service of Senua's story. Not only is the studio looking to create a fun game for players to enjoy, but it's also seeking to use its platform to raise mental health awareness through Hellblade's depiction of psychosis, the hallucinatory mental health condition that Senua experiences. It's a cause close to Jurgen's heart, and one she's very keen to share widely. Games can be more than just entertainment, she states. You can make a game that sparks conversations, tackles difficult subjects, and just raise awareness about certain conditions such as mental health. I'm proud of just having the honour of representing the mental health community, making sure that I do it in the best way possible, the most realistic way possible. Don't let them down, and make them proud as well.
Senua, would you give your life for these outsiders?
In my darkest hour, it was an outsider who saved me.
For more on Hellblade 2, check out our preview, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
Alright. Well, the game looks good. We can both agree on that. I don't think anyone could disagree with that. Oh my god, get past all the fucking speech bubbles.
Dude,
holy shit.
Real quick before we get into the game, whoever edited this video, the second one of these giant red box quote things, there's a long period of time before you actually put the quote up where the screen was just blurred. I don't know why you did that. So, weird choice.
True. Yeah. What'd you think?
It's a beautiful game. We already said that. The sound stuff through just some stereo speakers was multi-layered and felt borderline surround sound already. I can only imagine with the proper setup how crazy that's going to sound. I would love to hear parts of that game with just this really nice, high wattage headphones on. I'm sure it'd be a treat.
It's amazing what people can do nowadays with stereo sound. Just the techniques people have learned on how to replicate atmospheric sound through two speakers is fucking crazy. Because even when I play, I typically don't, but if I play like Hunt Showdown with my speakers sometimes, just if I'm playing real quick, I can still pick up directions of where shit's at off two speakers. And it's like most games struggle with that with fucking surround sound.
Right.
And this game is like, on two speakers, we'll tell you where the sounds are coming from. And when we're watching this, it didn't even sound like the left speaker was picking up some of the audio. It sounded like it was over to the left of us.
Yeah.
So the right speaker's doing some audio as well to project that sound in that direction. So just that alone was really a treat to listen to, and that's not even the best way it's probably going to sound. So
yeah, I mean, I even enjoy if I'm sitting and listening to music that when they were producing it, they actually cared enough to play around with the left and right channels and directions and stuff like that. As a headphone experience, it can just be super fun. And then when and a lot of games don't because it's expensive, I'm sure, to spend that kind of time on audio design. And you can get your point across a lot simpler in most games. Though when someone does take the time to kind of like really put some layers in their audio, man, I love it. So the cinematic quality is something also that I'm really enjoying. It's funny because like with all the complaining around AAA and stuff like that, and a lot of that is because all these AAA companies are trying to make these like money pits basically they're trying to make addictive gameplay and stuff like that. You do occasionally get a company like this, or your Naughty Dogs, or your Santa Monica's, that are just trying to make like more cinematic experiences. And man, I love it. I don't want every game to be like that. I think it's nice for it to be an occasional thing because it's a treat. So.
Yeah, it's funny because like AAA is a pretty straightforward term, but for me it means almost two different things. AAA is either big budget, big team, or big budget, big team, but also big ambition. Some AAA companies really go out of their way to prove why AAA still has a place. There's people who are like, AAA is shit, I don't play AAA games. I'm like, there are technologies being pushed though by some of these AAA companies that are leading the way for everyone else to be able to replicate these things, and they inspire so many people in what can be done with the medium. And so I fucking love AAA, but then you also get lazy AAA where they're like, we've sold a lot of this game in the past. We're going to get the team bigger. We're going to get shit done faster. We're going to make it, a bigger game, but not really in its rich content, but just more shit to do and more ways for you to keep playing the game and eventually spend more money on the same game. And so they just pay for a bigger team or whatever. And so you get like, Ubisoft games that are full of like, fucking boring content. That once started in a place those that ambitious place, but
then turned into McDonald's.
Exactly, yeah. So then it is AAA, but just has that different meaning behind that term. Whereas when you play like a Naughty Dog game, still, even if you disagree with some of the decisions they're making and the way they're telling stories, the ambition's still there. I think every Naughty Dog game takes it up a notch from their past games. They never feel stagnant. They never feel like they're just making more of the same to sell it to you. I mean, obviously people are going to say what they're going to say about remasters that they've put out, but their mainline games, their brand new games, always feel like the next step in what Naughty Dog can do. Santa Monica doing the same thing. These guys have only made now 2 games, but this feels like the last game, but huge ambition and what they're trying to bring to the table. Even them talking about their inspirations for this game that didn't exist before for the first game was really cool, because you can tell their juices are flowing in different ways making this game, being inspired by Robert Eggers' directorial style in the Northland stuff. This kind of stuff excites me when it comes to AAA games like this.
And obviously, I already kind of said it, but like, obviously every game doesn't need to be this. Like it would get boring quick if every game was just trying to be a movie all the time. So I do think it's a treat to get it every once in a while. I do want people mostly to be making games to be video games and to be fun, and that's the main goal, right? Is to just make fun, and then everything else is extra. But I do really, really appreciate when someone does put the time in to make a visual and audio experience of a game. So. It looks really cool. I wish I was the type I already know the game's going to be too stressful mentally for me, so there's no way I'd play it. But I'd be very curious to watch it, especially maybe at my computer, watch someone else play, put some headphones on, and maybe still be able to experience it, because I love that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to be picking up when it comes out. Its quality is obviously undeniable, but also I'm really curious to see what they do with the gameplay. The first game was a lot of like walking forward and minor exploration, then these combat situations where you're one-on-one against somebody, which felt immersive. This definitely seems like they're taking it to the next level with all of that. They're still kind of skimping on the gameplay. We are seeing these quick little segments, but we're not seeing a lot. But I kind of feel like obviously a lot of that's intentional, because with such a story heavy game that they even said they want every step of this game basically to be serving the story, they can't really show you anything. I'm hoping that's why they're not showing anything. They've also said the game's not super long, which I have been for years preaching that not every game needs to be super fucking long. I'm glad I'm seeing more and more people now saying like, yeah, you're right. We don't need every game to be like some big, long, endless game.
Well, I think when we got to the point where Ubisoft was making 100+ hour games that were busy work for the sake of busy work, I think that kind of pushes against like making games bigger for the sake of bigger. Like if there's the vision there, like I would argue, I don't know how long exactly it is, but I know you can spend easily over 100 hours in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I haven't heard anyone complain about that though.
Yeah.
So, but do I want every game that long? No, because I'd like to actually play other games.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to just beat a game, and then move on to the next one. And I like when there's more content that I can go back and do. But yeah, it's also nice to just beat a game in less than fucking 60 hours, 50, 40 hours, like, a 20-hour game, 10 hours, a little short, but if it was worth it, like it's all that matters. If you take something from it. I hate fucking fluff in a game. That's one thing Rockstar is pretty bad about, is they'll have like great beginnings and great endings to their stories, but and the gameplay is fun, but like when it comes to their stories, they really
have a plan.
They really drag them out for a long time. And so you have an open world sandbox game. You don't have to drag out your story that much. So yeah, I appreciate just a straightforward story being told in a responsible way that just gets its point across real quick. So I don't know how short this will be, but the first one wasn't that long either. So I'm not really expecting a lot. This is obviously a technical showcase that hopefully will be fun to play as well, but I think it'll at least be worth the experience. I definitely want to experience this game. Graphics, sound design, story, gameplay. I actually think the fucking animations look fantastic. They seem super varied, which they talked about.
Yeah.
But
well, and the fact that everything is mocapped, like obviously that's the standard, but
yeah.
The guy who originally opened the studio, I can't remember his name right now, comes from movies anyways, and mocap specifically. So
yeah, I wonder if he's still involved with this or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Andy Serkis.
Yeah. So we all obviously know him as Gollum, but he's done multiple things in mocap. So
he's done a lot. He's kind of a huge actor that you don't see often. So but yeah, overall super impressed with this. I'm definitely interested, and I want to pick it up when it comes out. And that was actually kind of fun to watch. I liked the behind the scenes, actually showing gameplay while actually talking about where their heads are at when it comes to the development. This is probably the most confident I've felt in a while for an Xbox release, which is nice, because I feel like this year is going to be a good year for them. So
yeah, I agree with the enjoying the format of it. I do think most people don't handle like when the development team is being interviewed very well, because it comes off like I don't know how to word it. It's not fun for most viewers, I'd say. And I know you agree with this part, but I like the little deep dives into like the actual process, and then like getting little tidbits like on the screen showing us like seeing the mocap stuff and whatnot. It's a little more like nerdy, and it's fun. So
they also did a good job on sticking with that, not like telling the life story of every single person who works there and all that stuff. Like
not following Todd Howard around the office.
Yeah, just sticking to the game, sticking to what they thought about when they're working on different elements, and also just hearing about the upgrade to Unreal Engine 5 and what they could do with it, because we already know it's a powerhouse. So everyone
gushes about that engine. So I mean,
it's Unreal Engine 3 all over again.
Yeah, and obviously it's not a bad thing. It's just it's funny when that engine came out and like it was sold to everyone one way, and then devs got their hands on it and they were like, gushing about like how easy it is to use and stuff. I'm like, wow, okay, that's crazy. So
yeah, easy to make things for, easy to import things, high quality textures, amazing lighting. I mean, like it's got everything you need. So
and way less development when you don't have to make your own engine. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, it was fun.
All right. Well, let's know in the comments what do you guys think about Hellblade 2 and taking Immersion to the next level. What was some of the things you noticed in this preview that caught your eye? Maybe things we didn't talk about that you're excited about. Are you excited for Hellblade 2? Did you play the first one? And yeah, are you looking forward to it? What do you think about length of time in gaming? That's always an interesting topic that I'm glad to see more and more people embracing the shorter game, because like 8 years ago, it seemed like everybody's looking for that like 200-hour game, and I think Ubisoft's many mistakes have taught the industry a lot, which is kind of crazy how much they keep coming up. So yeah, let us know what you're thinking about in the comments below when it comes to Hellblade 2, but that's going to do it for this episode of Tasty Cast, episode 204. I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. Thank you to Chevy for joining me for this episode. Thank you guys for joining us. And until the next episode, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.